Story begins as a boy named Rintaro who was just like any other ordinary kid. He had a big crush on a girl and finally mustered the courage to confess his feelings to her. Much to his surprise, the girl admitted that she liked him too. It should have been a moment of joy, but there was a twist. The girl, while admitting her feelings, couldn't bear the thought of actually dating Rintaro. This rejection hit him hard, leaving him feeling utterly crushed. As he walked back home, a friend accompanied him. It was during this walk that we discovered something quite astonishing. This was Rintaro's 100th rejection. His friend couldn't believe it. They were just fresh out of middle school, and Rintaro had already asked out 100 girls. It boggled his mind. Rintaro couldn't help but reminisce about the first time he asked a girl out when he was a mere 8 months old. Yes, you read that correctly. He had been on this quest for a girlfriend since he was a baby. Rintaro was determined to know what it felt like to have a girlfriend. He had the looks, and he was no slouch when it came to grades. But for some reason, he couldn't secure a date. This frustrated him to no end. His friend, while poking fun at him, wished him luck in high school as they parted ways. With a heavy heart, Rintaro decided to visit a shrine. There, he prayed to the god of love, hoping that high school would be his chance to finally get a girlfriend. Suddenly, he heard a voice and, incredibly, a face popped out of the shrine's donation box. This strange man claimed to be the shrine's god, and he had wings to prove it. The winged god told Rintaro that not only would he meet his soulmate in high school, but that he would have a whopping 100 soulmates to choose from. This news filled Rintaro with hope, but he also swore to destroy the shrine if the god turned out to be a liar. Fast forward 1 month, and it's Rintaro's first day of high school. On his way to the classroom, he accidentally bumps into 2 girls, Inda and Hikari. A strange sensation tingles through them as their eyes meet. Rintaro begins to wonder if they might be the soulmates the shrine's god mentioned. Being the helpful person he is, Rintaro rushes to assist the girls to their feet. However, Hikari suddenly fakes an ankle injury, asking Rintaro to accompany her to the nurse's office. Rintaro is distressed, thinking he's harmed his soulmate. Hikari, on the other hand, starts to admire him for his kindness. Inda, feeling left out, pretends to twist her ankle too. Rintaro, feeling responsible for both girls, starts to blame himself. To his surprise, the girls stand up and act just fine. But they quickly go back to pretending, leaving Rintaro baffled. He takes them to the nurse's office, but he can't help but feel like he's the one being carried away by the situation. The girls pretend to lose their balance, and they start vying for his attention, clinging to him as they make their way to the nurse's office. Once there, Rintaro introduces himself to the girls and discovers that they are all in the same class. As if this weren't enough excitement for one day, 2 other girls casually mention a field of pink 4-leaf clovers in the courtyard. They claim that if you ask someone out with a pink 4-leaf clover, they're guaranteed to say yes. Suddenly, Inda and Hikari dash off, leaving Rintaro bewildered, especially since their legs seemed perfectly fine. Once school was over, Rintaro stayed behind to help a teacher find his lost contact lens. While he was getting ready to leave, he couldn't help but wonder if he'd cross paths with those 2 girls again. Much to his delight, he spotted them in the school courtyard. Inda was on a mission to find a rare 4-leaf clover, and Rintaro discreetly watched her progress. When Inda noticed him, she seemed taken aback and attempted to act as though she wasn't searching for the clover. Rintaro, however, quickly realized that Hikari was absent. So, he kindly offered Inda a drink. Initially, she appeared a bit shy to accept it, making Rintaro wonder if she found him strange, especially since they had only just met. However, her demeanor suddenly changed, and she snatched the drink from him, declaring that she'd drink it all so it wouldn't go to waste. Rintaro then suggested that she should head home because it was getting late. Inda, while irritated by his advice, still thanked him for the drink, revealing her aloof personality. Out of the blue, Inda dashed away, and Hikari returned. Rintaro, always considerate, offered her a drink too. However, Hikari had different plans. She wanted to share the drink with Rintaro to have an indirect kiss. She claimed that she couldn't finish it by herself and insisted that Rintaro share it with her. Rintaro had anticipated this, so he'd already brought a smaller drink for her. Nevertheless, she continued to insist that she couldn't manage it on her own. So, Rintaro agreed and took a sip before passing the drink to Hikari. Unexpectedly, Hikari panicked and spilled the drink on the ground. Rintaro thought she might be upset because she really liked the drink. Being the kind soul he was, he offered his handkerchief to help her clean up. Instead of taking the handkerchief, Hikari surprised Rintaro by holding his hand and confessing her love for him. She explained that she had to confess quickly because there was someone else who had feelings for him. Rintaro was overjoyed to receive his first ever confession, but hadn't had a chance to respond when Inda suddenly returned to the scene. She had bought a bunch of drinks to repay Rintaro, but upon discovering Hikari's confession, she became quite upset. Inda felt left out and became angry with Hikari for not informing her of the situation and for jumping ahead in line. Rentaro was surprised to learn that Inda also had feelings for him. After some initial hesitation, she too ended up confessing her feelings to him. The two girls asked Rentaro who he would choose, but he suggested they wait for the answer until the next day. Rentaro found himself in a difficult situation. He couldn't decide between the two girls he'd met. Both Inda and Hikari had confessed their feelings for him, and he was torn. So, he decided to seek guidance at the shrine. At the shrine, he turned to the god of love for help. The god revealed something surprising. Both girls were his soulmates. Rentaro was puzzled, wondering how people usually handled having two soulmates. The god explained that most people only had one, but when Rentaro was born, a mistake had occurred. The god had been too busy watching TV and accidentally assigned Rentaro a whopping 100 soulmates instead of just one. This revelation left Rentaro feeling doomed. The god went on to explain that if a person couldn't be with their soulmate, they would die because they couldn't be with the one they loved. This weighed heavily on Rentaro's mind as he thought about one of the girls dying, making his decision even more challenging. But then, a peculiar idea crossed Rentaro's mind. He considered rejecting both girls and secretly dating them behind each other's backs. The following morning, he met the girls, looking disheveled. Finally, he mustered the courage to tell them that he wanted to date both of them. Inda was shocked by this revelation, but Rentaro couldn't bring himself to lie to them. He confessed his love for both of them and promised to do everything in his power to make them the happiest girls ever. The girls were on the verge of rejecting him when Rentaro surprised them with pink four-leaf clovers he had spent all night searching for. Inda ridiculed him for believing in such superstitions, but Hikari reminded her that they both believed in it once. Inda initially refused to accept the idea of sharing Rentaro, but he explained that he had picked the clovers because he had seen how hard they were looking for them, and he simply wanted to make them happy. Overwhelmed by his heartfelt gesture, Hikari agreed to be with him, believing that being with him while sharing might still make her happier than being rejected. Inda, not wanting to let Hikari have Rentaro to herself, also agreed to be with him. Hikari teased Inda for changing her mind, and Rentaro promised to cherish them both. Yet, Rentaro still wondered about his other 98 soulmates. The story continues as Rentaro is overjoyed about having a girlfriend. He was talking to a pole, thinking it was his girlfriend, but his excitement was mistaken for something weird by the two girls, Inda and Hikari, who were actually his real girlfriends. Inda was creeped out and wondered why he was talking to a pole, while Rentaro explained that he was just so happy that he couldn't contain himself. Inda suggested that he talk to her instead, but she ended up feeling too embarrassed. Seizing the opportunity, Hikari decided to hold Rentaro's hand, and he was overwhelmed by the sensation. Inda started feeling jealous and grabbed his hand as well. They walked happily together to school. When they arrived at school, they saw a boy running, being chased by the strict vice principal. Hikari mentioned that the vice principal was known for being strict, and that if she caught someone running in school, she would give them a kiss. Rentaro was concerned that this might cause emotional damage. Hikari then asked Rentaro if he had ever kissed anyone before, and he admitted that he hadn't since they were his first girlfriends. Hearing this, Hikari and Inda realized that one of them could be the first to kiss him. During lunch, they spent time together. While Inda was distracted by a cat, Hikari fed an egg roll to Rentaro, which he loved so much that he started crying. Inda got jealous and revealed that she had made cookies for him. However, when she tried to feed him, she accidentally hit him in the eye. Rentaro ate her cookie and told her it was amazing. Hikari then took out a snack, but it was broken. She wondered how to feed Rentaro without getting her hands dirty, so she decided to feed him with her mouth. Seeing Hikari so close, Rentaro thought she was adorable and started getting closer to her. Inda tried to join in but ended up poking Rentaro in the eye with her hair. This made Rentaro sneeze and break the snack. Hikari noticed that Rentaro's eyes were all red and worried that he had a cold. She grabbed onto him, saying he could get better by passing it on, and tried to kiss him. However, Inda got in the way, saying they couldn't be sure he had a cold. She suggested checking his temperature through their lips, claiming it was a family tradition. Inda attempted to make Rentaro pass out so she could give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but Hikari pushed her away. Both girls ended up angry at each other. Rentaro finally realizes that Inda and Hikari want to kiss him. Inda doesn't agree, but her expression gives away their intentions. He's shocked to know they both want to kiss him. Rentaro offers to kiss them too because he's been wanting to do it as well. However, Hikari explains that he has to choose who he will kiss first, which leads to another argument. Rentaro stops the fight and offers a solution he had planned the day before when he was too excited. He thought about making both girls happy, so he suggests keeping the first kiss a mystery. They will both have an equal chance of being his first kiss, and he'll consider both of their kisses as his first. The girls are worried about how to keep it a mystery, but Rintaro explains his plan. They will wear masks and cover their ears. Using a dice, the girls will randomly determine their positions, and he will kiss them without knowing who is who. After that, they will switch positions again, so he won't know who he kissed first. Hikari thinks it's a great idea, but Inda is concerned that Rintaro might cheat. Rintaro reveals his solution, which is to make a pinky promise that they won't cheat. Inda finds it silly, but Rintaro promises that he'll do something extreme if he breaks the promise. The girls agree to the plan, and they start carrying it out. Rintaro was worried about accidentally bumping into Inda and Hikari during their plan because he couldn't see. He tried to figure out their positions and ended up touching Hikari's chest, instantly recognizing her. They had to start over. As they tried again, a gust of wind lifted Inda's skirt, and a cat began clawing at it. Inda thought Rintaro was the one touching her and kicked him away, starting to beat him up. Her headphones fell out, and she realized it was the cat. They attempted the plan again, but something always went wrong, and they couldn't kiss. Everyone was upset, and Inda pointed out that the plan was flawed. This made Hikari angry, and they both started blaming each other and fighting over Rintaro. He intervened, taking all the blame for not being experienced. As he ran off, Rintaro called out for the vice principal, and she suddenly appeared to punish him for running. She got on top of him, and he was terrified. However, Inda stopped her, pretending to see a school inspector. The vice principal got worried and quickly left. The girls wondered why Rintaro acted so hastily, and he explained that he loved them both and didn't want them to fight. He'd rather ruin his first kiss than cause them to argue. Hearing this, both girls told him he could kiss the other so he wouldn't waste his first kiss. Rintaro was surprised by their reaction, but he could tell that they both genuinely loved him. He hugged them both and came up with another plan, a three-way kiss. He thought they wouldn't agree, but seeing them getting along, he believed it could work. The girls were embarrassed at the thought of kissing each other but eventually agreed, and they finally had their first kiss together. The next day, Rintaro, Inda, and Hikari were at the library. Hikari was looking for a cookbook to make food for Rintaro, but Inda wanted a book about winning a man's heart through his stomach. They started arguing, and Rintaro told them to get along, reminding them that they both had shared a kiss. This made the girls embarrassed. Rintaro was looking for another book when he encountered another girl who gave him a surprising feeling. He wondered if she was another one of his soulmates. The girl backed away, and he realized she was the librarian. The librarian didn't speak but used her book to point to phrases to communicate with Rintaro. He found this confusing at first, so he thought they weren't supposed to talk in the library. She asked him what he was looking for, and he tried to mime that he wanted a funny story. The girl asked him why he wasn't talking, and he asked her the same question. She apologized and was about to find someone else to help him, but he stopped her and asked for her assistance. Rintaro wanted recommendations for a romance story with a happy ending, so she began selecting some books for him. Rintaro was surprised when she picked out a lot of books. The girl apologized and told him to choose the ones he wanted. However, Rintaro decided to take all of them since she had picked them out for him. When he tried to check them out, he found out his library card wasn't ready yet. The girl offered him her own personal book, and Rintaro happily accepted it. He wondered about her name, and the girl showed him her ID, revealing her name was Shizuka. That night, Rintaro found out her name. Rintaro started reading a book about a princess and her loyal knight. The knight protected her from a dragon, and they developed feelings for each other. However, the princess was supposed to marry another prince. The knight rushed to the princess, wishing they could defy their fates. Rintaro was rooting for them, but the story ended on a cliffhanger. The next day, Rintaro thanked Shizuka for the book. He realized she brought him the second book, and he happily accepted it. He felt the need to find a way to repay her, so he bought her a drink, and they started talking about the book outside. Shizuka shared that it was her favorite book, and Rintaro was impressed by how well she knew it, using phrases to communicate. She mentioned that she's glad people don't find her weird, revealing that she's never had a real friend. This struck a chord with Rintaro, and he got an idea. He asked to borrow her first book again. The next day, Shizuka brought him the third book, but Rintaro didn't show up. Several days passed, and as Shizuka walked around the school, she noticed Rintaro with Hikari and Inda. They commented on how tired he looked, and he explained that he had been busy at night. The girls wondered what he was up to, but Rintaro continued to yawn. Hikari suddenly kissed him, saying she was giving him her energy, and Rintaro called her his angel. Inda wanted to do the same but ended up headbutting him. Shizuka realized that he had a girlfriend and thought he must be too busy to read. She reflected on how others found her weird for her way of talking, and even her mother considered her a freak. Nobody seemed to have time for someone like her. However, Rintaro came to find her, saying he could finally repay her for lending him the books. He had her install an app on her phone and revealed that he had manually typed out the entire first book. When she talks with the book, they never spoke face to face because she always had to look at the book. With the app, they could look at each other while she talks. Rintaro hoped it would help her with communication, and he encouraged her to try it. Shizuka told him that she loved him, but she quickly took it back, saying not to worry. However, Rintaro told her that he loved her too. Shizuka believed they were destined not to be together, but Rintaro claimed they would overcome it, even if it was their fate. He introduced Shizuka to the other girls and asked to add her as his newest girlfriend. Inda thought he was crazy, but Hikari thanked him for staying with them even after finding someone else. Rintaro stated that his feelings toward them hadn't changed, likening them to an oil field and Shizuka as a completely new field. He planned on cherishing all of them even more than before. Rintaro promises to show his love through his actions. He tells them that if he ever lets them down, he will make up for it by committing a very serious act, seppuku. Inda accepts his promise, and Rintaro now has one more girlfriend. But he still has 97 more soulmates to find. After introducing his new girlfriend to both Shizuka and Karen, Rintaro notices that the girl appears normal at first. However, when they greet her, she responds using an electronic voice on her cell phone. This surprises Shizuka and Karen, finding it quite unusual. Rintaro explains that he added the names of Shizuka's classmates and data from Circlet Love Story Volume 2 to help her communicate. He also reveals that Shizuka uses quotes from her favorite series to talk. Shizuka demonstrates by saying all three of their names in a robotic voice. Rintaro continues explaining that she is a book-loving librarian who makes cute movements with her toes while reading. These movements vary depending on her emotional reactions to different parts of the story. For example, her happy moments resemble a dog's tail wagging, and when she's scared, she shakes her feet. Rintaro finds this quirk very endearing, but Shizuka is embarrassed to learn about it because she didn't even realize she was doing it. Rintaro then shares that Hikari also has a cute habit when she's deep in thought. She puts her hand in her mouth and sometimes starts biting her fingers. Rintaro finds this habit so attractive that it quickens his heartbeat. However, Hikari is surprised to hear about this seemingly indecent habit she has without realizing it. Rintaro goes on to talk about Karen, mentioning that when she receives a compliment that makes her happy, she twirls her hair with her finger. This contrasts with her usual demeanor and makes her even cuter in his eyes. His comments make the three girls feel self-conscious as they realize Rintaro has been observing them closely. Rintaro also talks about the girls' kissing habits. Hikari makes a pout when they kiss, while Karen becomes so immersed in the moment that she forgets to breathe. Shizuka, curious, asks if they have ever exchanged kisses. Rintaro is confused by the expression, but Shizuka clarifies that she understood they have already kissed. Hikari asks if Shizuka is also interested in kissing, to which she replies that she is saving herself for her wedding day, emphasizing her commitment to maintaining her chastity. Rintaro reassures Shizuka that it's okay to take her time and that he'll wait until she's ready for a kiss. Meanwhile, Shizuka's confession makes Hikari and Karen feel a strong desire to kiss Rintaro at that very moment. The girls playfully try to feed Rintaro, but they end up arguing over who came up with the idea first. Rintaro intervenes, reminding them to be careful because they're getting very close and might accidentally kiss again. He also notices that Shizuka might find it challenging to make friends with both girls right away, but assures them that he's prepared for the situation. Rintaro explains that when people want to get to know someone, they often act in a way that's not genuine because they're afraid of revealing their true thoughts and potentially facing disapproval or hatred from the other person. He believes it's easier to connect with someone who has already shown their true feelings because it reduces complications in the relationship. To help break the ice, Rintaro suggests playing a card game called the Monkey Game with a twist. The loser has to be tickled. His goal is to induce laughter and create a friendly atmosphere. He calls this operation Let's Tickle and Laugh to become friends. The girls agree, finding the idea of being tickled by Rintaro exciting. They start playing, and Rintaro wins the first round, making Karen the loser. She eagerly asks Rintaro to tickle her, but Hikari advises her to hide her enthusiasm. Rintaro begins to tickle Karen, and she claims not to feel anything, but he believes she's just playing hard to get and continues tickling. Karen lies down on the floor as if inviting him to tickle her more, but Rintaro realizes that it might become inappropriate, and they continue playing. Rintaro wins the next round, and this time, Hikari loses. She expresses her happiness and gets playful, but Karen reminds her to stay in control. Rintaro starts tickling Hikari, and she laughs and acts silly. The laughter eventually turns into moans, and she apologizes, admitting she's weak to tickling. Rintaro reassures her, and Hikari moves away, saying she almost wet herself from happiness. Rintaro wins the third round, and this time, Shizuka is the loser. He's excited to make Shizuka laugh, and he begins to tickle her. Shizuka tries to control herself and laughs, but she uses a device to express her laughter, which surprises Rintaro. Shizuka explains that it might sound sad, but it's the only way she can express herself. Rintaro finds her cute and continues tickling her. The other two girls realize that Rintaro hasn't lost yet, and now their mission is to tickle him. They become determined to tickle Rintaro as well, and their playful competition intensifies. Rintaro finds the situation strange, and in the fourth round, he actually loses to Shizuka. He encourages Shizuka to give it her all. Meanwhile, the other two girls feel jealous but try to hide it. Shizuka calmly pokes Rintaro, making him laugh. Hikari doesn't understand why Shizuka doesn't take the opportunity to touch Rintaro more. She thinks even if Shizuka's hand accidentally touched him, nobody would judge her for it. She reflects on Shizuka's demure and shy nature, observing her cute gestures and high-pitched voice. Hikari believes Shizuka's gestures might come off as fake. In contrast, Shizuka seems so shy and fragile that she resembles a little cuddly animal, making her a formidable rival in Hikari's eyes. The tickling session eventually ends, and Rintaro mentions he laughed a lot. He goes to the bathroom, and Hikari wonders if he went for a happy reason. Karen asks Shizuka what just happened, looking serious. She asks if Shizuka is acting modest because they're all there. Shizuka denies it, but Karen insists that Shizuka was just poking Rintaro because she wanted to touch him more. Kine asks why Shizuka was acting silly, and Hikari explains it was because Kine had frightened her earlier. She adds that Shizuka had been screaming, but Kine denies it and calls her ignorance a blessing. Shizuka says that they were Rintaro's girlfriends before she came along, and she didn't want to disrupt things. Karen becomes angry, saying she expected Shizuka to say something like that. She doesn't like seeing Shizuka avoid Rintaro without expressing her true feelings. Hikari chimes in, pointing out that Karen also hides her feelings to act nice, which highlights the hypocrisy in her words. Karen tells Hikari to quiet down and avoid starting a fight. Shizuka apologizes once more, but Karen gets frustrated because Shizuka keeps repeating the same things. Hikari explains that Kine would probably react similarly if Shizuka had said something different. Hearing another insult, Karen gets close to being really angry with Hikari. Shizuka decides to be very honest with them, as that's what they seem to want. She explains that she can't bear the fear of Rintaro comparing her to them. Kine is saddened by this and wonders if she appears scary to Shizuka. Shizuka clarifies that she expressed herself poorly and actually finds Hikari very elegant, graceful, feminine, and with a beautiful body. She finds Karen very beautiful with confidence that matches her outer beauty. Shizuka believes she is common and lacks grace, with a childlike body and a sad, reserved personality. This makes her feel inferior to the others. Karen tries to comfort her, saying Shizuka is beautiful and her quiet demeanor is elegant and feminine. Karen takes the opportunity to apologize for everything that has happened, and Hikari tells Shizuka not to worry about what Karen says because she tends to get angry easily. Hikari reassures Shizuka that Rintaro loves them all more than they can imagine and surely has wonderful things to say about her too. Karen adds that Shizuka shouldn't hold back and should express her desires to Rintaro. Hikari suggests that Shizuka can call them by their first names since they are all Rintaro's girlfriends equally. Shizuka starts addressing them by their first names. Meanwhile, Rintaro is away, feeling happy that everything worked out. He remembers the time when Shizuka was tickling him and noticed Karen looking angry. He realized he needed to take action before it turned into a fight. However, he also remembers his purpose with the monkey game was to encourage them to express their feeling. If he makes them hide what they feel, it would increase the distance between them, not decrease it. Rintaro realizes that he needs to show courage first so that the girls can do the same. To create a private moment, he goes to the bathroom. While he's away, he understands that Karen wasn't angry for no reason. She was upset because she wanted Shizuka to be honest. Hikari intervened to prevent Karen from directing all her anger at Shizuka. Shizuka accepted what Kine had said and mustered the courage to express her true feeling. When Rintaro returns, Karen suggests they continue the previous punishment because she doesn't think Shizuka's pokes were enough. Shizuka should punish him again. Hikari asks if she wants to tickle him once more, and Shizuka realizes the two are supporting her. Feeling grateful for their kindness, she recalls Karen's advice to be open about her feelings. She stops in front of Rintaro and admits that she wants to kiss him. She confesses that her story about waiting until marriage was a lie. Rintaro acknowledges that he already knew this, and Shizuka shares her desire for a kiss. Rintaro caresses her and apologizes, finding her cute, but Shizuka takes his hand and rubs it on her face. They share a kiss, and Shizuka blushes, not showing much reaction. Hikari suggests that now that Karen has encouraged Shizuka to be honest, it's Karen's turn to be truthful. Karen claims she has nothing to declare. Hikari leaves her alone and asks Rintaro to kiss her too. Karen becomes jealous and asks if Shizuka is better than her. Rintaro reassures her, saying all three of them are the cutest in the world. Karen agrees but mentions she already expected that answer. She allows Rintaro to kiss her, saying she's not that interested, and they hug. Rintaro calls her cute, but she pushes him away. He finds her bashful expression amusing, and she playfully hits him. Finally, Rintaro expresses his desire to kiss Karen as well, pointing out that if he doesn't initiate it, it might not happen. He asks if she's interested, and Karen, although reluctant, agrees. They share a kiss, and after kissing all three of them, Rintaro looks a bit silly while staring at the sky. Hikari asks what's on his mind, and Rintaro says they're such fantastic girlfriends that he feels it's a waste for them to be with him. He expresses his gratitude for all three of them, and the girls interpret this statement in various ways, leading to laughter among the group. The girls were eagerly waiting for their test results. Hikari wondered why Rintaro was taking so long to return from getting his cell phone. Shizuka mentioned that Rintaro values his cell phone a lot because it holds pictures and memories of the three of them. They recalled Rintaro saying how important the device was to him. When Rintaro returned to the room, he found Nano, another girl, there. Nano informed them that the test results were already out. She confidently stated that checking the results would be a waste of time for her since she already knew she had the best grade. As they looked at each other, Rintaro felt a familiar connection, similar to when he first met his three girlfriends. He invited Nano to check the results together, but she declined, considering it a waste of time. Rintaro apologized and left the room. Upon returning to see the results, Rintaro praised Nano's outstanding performance. He ranked 88th, so he couldn't say much. Nano, on the other hand, had aced all the subjects, sparking Rintaro's interest. He asked if any of the three knew more about Nano. Shizuka described her as a reclusive girl immersed in her study, while Inda mentioned not having exchanged a single word with her. People talked about Nano being like a robot, always seeking precision and efficiency. She was capable of answering any question on any subject, earning her the nickname of a highly advanced human AI. Later, everyone heads to the biology lab, where Rintaro is partnered with Nano for some work. He leaves Nano studying while he goes to get a microscope. On his way back, he notices that Nano is different from his other three girlfriends. His previous girlfriends were more on the cute side, while Nano is elegant and pretty. Rintaro suggests they don't need to use the book in the lab, but he realizes Nano is copying cells from a notebook, considering it more efficient than using the microscope. Rintaro thinks this undermines the practical part of the class, but Nano argues that redoing the same steps is a waste of time since scientists have already provided the answers. Rintaro warns her about the professor watching and suggests doing the work properly. Nano takes the microscope, and Rintaro believes she'll do things right, but she stubbornly puts the book under the microscope. Rintaro realizes why people call her an AI. Her reasoning is logical, not practical, and she comes across as cold towards people. This has given her a not-so-good reputation among other students. Meanwhile, Rintaro accidentally cuts himself while cutting an onion. He goes to the sink to wash his hands and tells Nano he's going to the infirmary. Surprisingly, Nano starts sucking his finger, claiming it's more efficient due to saliva containing antimicrobial agents, eliminating the need for antiseptic. Rintaro is surprised and embarrassed, noting Nano's soft lips and hot tongue. While this awkward moment unfolds, Rintaro's three girlfriends remain focused on their work. Eventually, the class comes to an end. Rintaro goes to Nano to express his gratitude for her help, but she insists he doesn't need to thank her. However, Rintaro still feels the need to thank her properly and offers to buy her a refrigerator. Nano declines, explaining that soft drinks are not suitable for hydration, leaving Rintaro with limited options. He decides to be honest and shares that he simply wants to get to know her better, asking if she minds. Nano responds that she doesn't care, but meeting him doesn't make sense to her. Rintaro explains that for him, talking to people is enjoyable and meaningful, akin to having hobbies or taking summer vacations. Nano, however, states that she has never engaged in such activities, considering them unproductive. According to her, any activity that doesn't contribute to academic grades is not worth pursuing. Nano doesn't find value in fun if it doesn't produce something of tangible importance. Rintaro argues that high grades and performance aren't everything, but Nano countered, emphasizing the importance of activities that have prospects for the future. Rintaro tries to convince her that the meaning of life is to have fun, but Nano maintains that the meaning of something is defined by its value, and value is determined by utility and benefits. She draws parallels with money and knowledge, stating that they work in a similar way. Rentaro clarifies that he isn't discussing the definition of words, but Nano insists that if something cannot be defined in words, it is merely an illusion. Seeing Rentaro's reluctance to agree, Nano declares that debating with him is a waste of time, as she believes he won't change his way of thinking. This leaves Rentaro with lingering doubts because Nano's perspective is vastly different from his own, making him question if she could be his soulmate. Upon reaching home, Nano begins her studies but finds herself thinking about Rentaro and why she sucked his finger. Various possibilities cross her mind, but she acknowledges the danger of inaction he was facing due to a high risk. Realizing her distraction, she decides to refocus by writing the value of pi multiple times on the board. However, even after this strategy, she remains distracted and writes the pi value more frequently, realizing she's wasting a lot of time. The next day, Nano goes to Rentaro and confesses her love for him. She expresses her desire for a relationship, but when Rentaro reciprocates the feelings and expresses his wish to go out with her, Nano surprisingly refuses. She insists that Rentaro should have declined her dating proposal, and since he didn't, she will refuse on his behalf. Rentaro is confused, and Nano explains that she's there to end a love that hasn't even started. Rentaro protests, stating that they both like each other, but Nano argues that romance leads to marriage and childbirth, things she doesn't need for now. She dismisses the idea of teenage romance, claiming it makes no sense to her. Nano firmly declares that they will never have an affair. Rentaro refuses to accept this, asserting that if he continues to love her, the chance of romance happening remains. Nano recalls the unproductive day before when she thought about him a lot. Rentaro then suggests a date, promising that if he can't win her over in one day, he will not give up on her. To formalize the agreement, Rentaro extends his hand for Nano to sign. In this way, the story takes an unexpected turn as Nano, despite confessing her love, refuses to pursue a romantic relationship with Rentaro, citing her own unconventional views on love and relationships. A few days later, Rentaro waits nervously for Nano as it's their first date. When she finally appears, Rentaro is captivated by her casual outfit, and he can't help but drool. Nano interprets his expression as sickness and asks if he wants to cancel the date. Despite feeling a bit unwell, Rentaro insists on continuing, thinking canceling would be inefficient. Rentaro plans to give Nano the best time, so they head to a carousel. Nano finds it pointless, but when Rentaro takes a photo, she criticizes the camera, calling it illogical. Undeterred, Rentaro compliments her beauty. They move on to a haunted house, but Nano dismisses it as anti-scientific. When fake ghosts try to scare them, Rentaro gets frightened, admitting he's scared of things jumping on him. Nano questions his reaction, and they leave, with Nano renaming it Haunted Humans. Next, they ride in rotating cubs, and Nano questions the logic of people queuing up for such a ride, theorizing it might be a brainwashing contraption. Moving to a giant maze, Nano climbs a wall for a better view, suggesting it would be more efficient to build a direct path to the exit. Rentaro explains the dead ends are part of the maze. They then go on a Ferris wheel, and Rentaro notices Nano is scared of heights. She justifies her fear, and Rentaro offers to sit next to her. As they sit together, their hands touch, and Nano intertwines her fingers with his. After enjoying various activities, Rentaro and Nano sit down to look at the photos they took. Rentaro notices that Nano seems bored in many photos, but he points out one where she looks happy. Nano questions how he can tell when she's happy since she usually appears serious. Rentaro explains that it's not hard to notice if you pay attention. Rentaro emphasizes that what matters is that she had fun that day. Nano admits she had more fun than expected, but considers it not necessarily a good thing because the fun didn't bring her much. She apologizes for thinking that way, but Rentaro reassures her, saying everyone has different experiences. He appreciates her honesty and suggests getting rid of the photos they took together since it was a day without much meaning. As Rentaro attempts to burn the photos, Nano stops him, recalling her statement about losing photos making them cease to exist. Rentaro explains that her concern about losing something is proof that she now has something valuable. He acknowledges that it might not have practical use in the future, but the fact that she didn't want to lose it gives it value. Nano starts crying, and Rentaro comforts her, offering a tissue. After using it, Nano decides to disinfect it before returning it. Rentaro humorously asks if she planned to lick the tissue, and Nano replies that she will wash it. In a moment of silence, Nano attempts to rekindle their relationship, expressing her desire for romance to fill the void of meaningful moments she's been missing. Rentaro agrees, and Nano wastes no time in kissing him, seeing it as the most efficient way to fulfill their desires. The two return home hand in hand, their relationship taking a new turn after a day of shared experiences and emotions. The next day, Rintaro shares the entire story with his other 3 girlfriends and asks if he can include Nano in his collection of girlfriends. Inda casually says he can do whatever he wants because she's already used to it. Hikari agrees but asks him to continue being worthy of being by his side. Shizuka, considering herself a reinforcement girlfriend, doesn't want to impose herself. Rintaro expresses gratitude, promising to love them all equally or perform seppuku if he fails. Nano suggests that taking poison would be more efficient if he wanted to end his life. Despite this, Hikari is curious to know more about their meeting at the park, expressing her desire to go out with Rintaro too. Rintaro is unsure where to take them all, and Hikari suggests going to a park with a pool. The next day, Karen decides to visit a swimwear store to get ready for a day at the pool park. However, she's puzzled about why Hikari suggested this seemingly out of nowhere. Karen doesn't own a suitable bikini for the occasion since she has only been to the pool with friends before. Additionally, she isn't comfortable wearing cute bikinis. Despite this, she contradicts herself by claiming that the bikinis in the store aren't cute. The saleswoman apologizes for not meeting her expectations. While browsing, Karen notices a standout bikini but rejects the idea of wearing it, thinking it wouldn't look good on her. However, she considers that Rintaro might like and compliment it. On the day of the meeting, Rintaro comments on the recently opened park and is impressed by the turnout. 3 of his girlfriends join him, boosting his spirits. Shizuka apologizes for her outfit choice, feeling she caused embarrassment. Rintaro reassures her, praising her modesty in wearing the school swimsuit. He notices Karen hasn't arrived yet, and is surprised to see her wearing a towel around her body. Rintaro urges Karen to go home and change, concerned about her being seen naked. Karen explains that she's just cold and plans to watch them without participating. Despite Rintaro's worry, Hikari suggests they wait for a day when everyone is willing to have fun. Nano suggests Karen take a sunbath close to the chairs, thanking everyone for understanding but asking them not to worry. Nano claims not to be worried, leading to a disagreement between her and Karen due to their lack of closeness. Rintaro observes that Karen is in better spirits than he thought. Shizuka admits she's not skilled in naval battles and offers to keep watch with Karen. Karen insists she's fine and isolates herself from the group. They all get into the pool, and Rintaro notices Shizuka spinning around. He asks her what's going on, and she says she doesn't know but feels like she can't escape this fate. Meanwhile, Nano thinks that playing might be a form of survival training for unforeseen scenarios. Accidentally, Hikari falls into Rintaro's lap due to the current, placing her chest on his arm. Rintaro questions if she did it on purpose, but Hikari pretends not to understand, making him blush. Nano then goes to Rintaro and puts his hand on her chest, expressing a desire for him to feel the feminine appeal inside her. Hikari gets jealous and places Rintaro's hand on her chest too. They start arguing over whose breasts are better, with Nano claiming hers are firmer and Hikari countering that hers are softer. The argument intensifies until they turn to Rintaro, asking for his opinion on their breasts. However, when they look at him, they notice Rintaro has passed out from all the stimulation. Nano explains that he still has a weak pulse, but is no longer breathing. Hikari decides they need to save him with mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Hikari puts the plan into action, but Nano intervenes, stating Hikari doesn't know how to do the procedure correctly. Nano insists she can't let Rintaro die because she still wants to learn many things from him. Nano then attempts mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but Hikari pushes her away. Seeing Rintaro still unconscious, Hikari despairs but resolves to perform the procedure correctly this time. Meanwhile, Shizuka keeps spinning in the pool, explaining that when she got separated from Rintaro, she tried to swim back but got carried away. She struggles with a float and sends a message for help, but the float bursts against the wall. Despite this, she manages to reach the pool edge. Meanwhile, Rintaro remains unconscious, and Nano tries to revive him. Nano suggests seeking help from someone who knows what to do, and Hikari proposes finding a male lifeguard. On their way, some guys invite them to join, but Hikari declines, mentioning their urgency. One guy comments on Hikari's soft arms and shares a questionable theory about the similarity between arm softness and breast softness. He tries to touch Hikari's arm, but Nano intervenes, poking his eyes and explaining it's the most efficient way to deal with a pervert. The guys threaten them, and Nano decides to stay while Hikari looks for help for Rintaro. Hikari questions why Nano is taking such risks, but Nano recalls protecting Hikari earlier. Hikari argues that if something happens to her, Rintaro would be equally sad. Nano explains that their relationship just started, and Rintaro would be sadder if something happened to her. The guys approach, and Hikari insists none of them will stay with them. Nano questions Hikari's decision, explaining their relationship with Rintaro is still new. The perverts get impatient, and Rintaro appears in time to save the girls. He questions the guys and is told to stay out of it. Rentaro learns about Nano blinding one of the perverts and Hikari's confrontation. Rentaro proposes spending time with the guys to make up for Nano's actions. The pervert suggests Rentaro take his girlfriend and leave, but Rentaro clarifies that both Nano and Hikari are his girlfriends. The pervert challenges Rentaro to prove it by kissing both girls. Rentaro refuses, explaining it's not something they should do in front of people. However, Nano pulls him and gives him a kiss. Hikari follows suit. The guys, overwhelmed by this modern relationship, run away. Hikari asks Rentaro when he woke up, and Nano wonders how he found them. Before they get answers, Karen appears, upset with the scene she witnessed. The scene shifts to a few moments earlier when Karen was sunbathing. Suddenly, she notices some guys approaching Nano and Hikari, prompting her to go help them. On her way, she finds Rentaro lying on the floor, dry and pale. Worried, she tries to wake him up, and he only comes to when she mentions the girls being in danger. Rentaro immediately asks where they are, and upon Karen's pointing, he rushes to their aid. Everything becomes clear as they understand how Rentaro got to them. Nano remarks that waking Rentaro up this way is very efficient. Rentaro expresses gratitude to Nano for protecting Hikari, emphasizing Hikari's importance to him. He requests Nano not to take too many risks, reminding her that he would be sad if something happened to her. This makes Nano realize Rentaro cares about everyone equally. She apologizes and thanks him for his concern. Karen notices that Shizuka is still missing, and Hikari mentions not seeing her since they left the pool with the current. Rentaro despairs, thinking Shizuka might have been carried away by the current. He runs to save her. Shizuka, meanwhile, continues to ask for help until her phone dies. Rentaro shouts her name, and she waves her arm to get his attention. Rentaro can't hear her, but after putting in effort, he finally hears her. He rushes to her side, apologizing for leaving her alone. Shizuka kisses him on the way back, but Rentaro blushes, suggesting it's not the right place for it. They return to the other girls, and Rentaro decides to rest while they have fun, inviting Karen to join him. He teases Kine for looking at Hikari and Nano's breasts, and notices Karen's discomfort. Rentaro believes Karen chose not to wear a bikini to the pool due to confidence issues, but she denies it, claiming she's just cold. Rentaro points out her melon soda with ice cream, suggesting it's not the behavior of someone who's cold. He explains that Hikari and Nano are exceptions in terms of attractiveness for their age, and high school girls typically have a body similar to Karen's and Shizuka's. Kine, feeling insecure, denies being feminine. Rentaro asks her to stand and removes her coat, complimenting her appearance. She calls him a pervert, but Rentaro insists she looked great in the bikini. He hugs her and explains that she's not better or worse than the other girls. They all have unique quality, and he finds her attractive as she is. Rentaro invites Karen to join the other girls, but Karen is still motionless and red. He kisses her too, and they all return to the pool. Nano asks if Karen's cold has passed, and she confirms. The other girls compliment Karen's bikini, making her embarrassed. Seeing everyone together, Rentaro decides it's time to have fun in the pool for the rest of the day, enjoying the date as it should be. The story unfolds as Rentaro is being dragged by Karen, with his other girlfriend following closely. Hikari expresses her desire not to miss the limited passionate pair's pancakes. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, a girl is diligently working on creating potions. As Rentaro is pulled through the lab, he briefly locks eyes with the girl, feeling a same shock of finding his soulmate. However, the moment is fleeting as Karen continues to pull him away. The next day, Rentaro decides to visit the chemistry lab in the hope of finding the girl he saw yesterday, believing her to be his soulmate. Upon entering, a cute girl named Kusuri welcomes him to the lab. Rentaro looks around but doesn't spot the girl from before. Kusuri asks for Rentaro's name and introduces herself. She invites him to have some tea, and despite his hesitation, she insists, revealing that she has created a new medicine. Rentaro clarifies that he is not there to join the club but is searching for someone. Undeterred, Kusuri encourages him to drink the tea while he waits. As Rentaro approaches her, Kusuri instructs him not to peek at her work. Despite his protests, Rentaro decides to wait and see what she is making. Kusuri reveals her new magnetic potion, astonishing Rentaro with its effectiveness, surpassing even Nobel Prize-winning achievements. She explains that the potion can make a person temporarily magnetic, attracting metal objects. She urges Rentaro to try it, and after some hesitation, he drinks it. To his surprise, Rentaro experiences the potion's effects, turning his body into a magnet. Kusuri boasts about her invention, but then warns Rentaro of the side effects, including 3 days and 3 nights of unimaginable constipation. Rentaro is taken aback, questioning what she made him drink. Kusuri ignores his concerns and decides to drink the potion with the opposite magnetic effect. As they embrace due to the magnetic force, Rentaro feels embarrassed. Kusuri mentions that the effect will wear off in 10 minutes, but they find it challenging to separate from each other. She explains the various drugs she enjoys creating, such as night vision medicine and a potion that delays voice sounds. While Rentaro initially entered the lab to find his soulmate, he becomes captivated by Kusuri and her passion for chemistry. Despite realizing that Kusuri is not his soulmate, he is seemingly infatuated with her. However, Kusuri notices Rentaro watching her, realizing he is enamored by her cuteness. She discloses that the tea he drank was spiked with a love potion. The girl then confesses her feelings, declaring that she fell in love with him at first sight and asks Rentaro to date her, confident that he cannot reject her due to the love potion. Rentaro, however, begins vomiting, causing the girl to become angry at what she perceives as rudeness after confessing her feelings. Rentaro clarifies that he finds it inappropriate to hear such things from someone who urinates while hugging him. He dismisses the love potion as the cause of his nausea, leaving the girl frustrated and embarrassed by the unexpected turn of events. Kasuri wonders why Rentaro is acting differently than expected, as he was supposed to be melting for her due to the love potion. She believes he is rejecting the idea of dating her, leading to her desperate crying and a tantrum. However, Rentaro expresses his desire to accept her statement when he is normal and not under the influence of the love potion. He falls to the floor, shaking, and Kasuri realizes he is experiencing an overdose of emotions. To cure him, she offers a medicine to neutralize the effects of the drug. However, Rentaro is unable to take it voluntarily as he is spinning like a Beyblade. Understanding that she must administer the medicine by force, Kasuri puts it in his mouth and passes it to him through a kiss. This act cures Rentaro, but Kasuri is saddened by the end of the love potion's effects. Despite this, Rentaro confesses that he still finds her cute. As they become more embarrassed looking at each other, Kasuri realizes that Rentaro's body rejected the drug before because he was already in love with her. She then asks Rentaro to date her again, this time going on her knees. When he asks her to raise her head, she continues lying down. Suddenly, Kasuri begins to transform, and Rentaro discovers that she was the same girl he saw the day before. Kasuri explains that she might have taken the neutralizer when she fed the medicine to him, revealing her true appearance. She further explains that she failed to create the immortality drug, leading to her acquiring the appearance of a child. Introducing herself again, she mentions that she is a third-year student and the president of the chemistry club. Rentaro realizes she is his senpai, and Kasuri explains that her smaller appearance during experiments is due to poor vision and big hair. Rentaro remains confused about the revelation that the two girls are the same person. When he becomes sure that she is his soulmate, he kneels down and declares his feelings for her. Kasuri reciprocates by hugging him, but mentions that she needs to change her diapers again. The unexpected twists and turns in their encounter add layers to the story, leaving Rentaro in a state of both confusion and newfound understanding about Kasuri's true identity. The scene changes, and Rentaro introduces Kasuri to his two girlfriends, Nano and Karen, asking if he can date her as well. Nano suggests that dating several companions at once is more efficient, but Rentaro clarifies that he's not doing it for efficiency. Karen urges Kasuri to finish introducing herself, and Kasuri reveals that she is an obsessive drug lover. Karen questions if she is a decent girl, and Rentaro explains that Kasuri's appearance is influenced by a specific drug, and she is, in reality, a third-year student. Kasuri then shares that she brought drugs for each of them. For Karen, she initially offers a potion to enlarge her breasts, which irritates Karen, thinking it's a hint. Kasuri changes the potion to make Karen stop being crazy, but Karen gets angry again. Changing it once more, Kasuri suggests a medicine to make her more feminine. Karen questions where Kasuri got information about her, and Kasuri reveals that Rentaro told her, leading Karen to smack Rentaro. Kasuri then praises Karen's slender beauty, calming her down. Next, Hikari receives a potion to make her sexier. After taking it, Hikari imagines herself seducing Rentaro, but the drug causes excessive sweating, melting her clothes. Kasuri explains that the drug is meant to make sweat melt clothes, defining a naked body as sexy. Rentaro lends her his pea clothes, and Hikari looks foolish while wearing them until she realizes the effect is only temporary. For the book lover, Shizuka, Kasuri gives a potion that transforms her into a rabbit. Rentaro finds her incredibly cute, but Shizuka doesn't feel worthy. Rentaro touches her rabbit ears, making her blush, and he places her on his lap, caressing her ears. Finally, for Nano, Kasuri provides a potion that makes her hair manageable, fitting for someone efficient. Nano uses this ability to clean dirt off Rentaro's face. He becomes infatuated with the smell of her hair, and Nano kisses him in an efficient manner. Kasuri then brings more potions, each lasting around 10 minutes. She warns Nano about the hair potion, stating it could lead to baldness if overused. Nano jokes about embracing baldness for efficiency, but Rentaro expresses his love for her hair. They sit down to talk, and Karen praises the effectiveness of the drugs. She asks what would happen if she took the breast enlargement potion, and Kasari shows her a photo representing the result, a muscular enhancement rather than enlarged breasts. Karen disapproves, and Kasari explains that she puts more effort into drugs for those willing to sign up for the research team. She enjoys creating more incredible drugs. While engaged in conversation, Kasari suddenly feels the urge to urinate. However, she dismisses the concern, stating that it doesn't matter since she's wearing a diaper. Rentaro, being considerate, advises her to use the bathroom, prompting her to do so. Hakari, in the meantime, prepares to serve tea. Kasari, cautioning everyone about the uniqueness of each person's tea, warns against mistakenly drinking Rentaro's tea. Rentaro finds her statement peculiar, and Kasari explains that men's and women's teas have subtle differences. Noticing Kasari's discomfort, Rentaro suggests she use the bathroom promptly. Kasari rushes away, asserting that they can identify whose tea is whose by checking the bottles. Upon her return, the group begins eating and chatting. Kasari believes she succeeded in making Rentaro drink the correct tea. However, upon inspecting her own tea, she realizes they switched teas. She asks the girls to spit out their drinks, but Rentaro dismisses the issue, attributing it to a taste difference. Kasari reveals that Rentaro's tea was spiked with a drug designed to make him kiss whoever he loves. She planned to use this to prompt him to kiss her, as the library kiss didn't qualify as a real one. However, Rentaro insists that he doesn't need such substances to desire a kiss. He already feels inclined to do so naturally. Upon hearing this, Kasari jumps on Rentaro's lap to kiss him. This action incites jealousy in kind, and the other girls express their desire to kiss Rentaro. Kasari, regretful of the tea mix-up, advises Rentaro to run away as the girls become uncontrollable. Rentaro questions Kasari's motives, and she explains that the drug, intended for men, increases libido, driving them towards sexual intercourse. In women, it heightens the desire for emotional pleasure, specifically kissing. Kasari emphasizes the potential dangers of increasing this desire in girls, as it removes mental inhibitions, granting them supernatural strength. They become akin to kissing zombies, desiring a kiss from their loved one indefinitely. Kasari warns Rentaro that if he gets caught, he won't escape their clutches, and he'll be compelled to kiss them forever. Despite Rentaro's initial enthusiasm, Kasari stresses the need to neutralize the drug in the girls' bodies to prevent them from staying in this state permanently. Rentaro inquires about the time it takes for the medicine to circulate in their body, marking the beginning of the kissing arc. The story continues as the girls move closer to Rentaro. Kusuri urges Rentaro to escape. Following her advice, they quickly go through a door and lock it behind them. Kusuri then reveals that making 4 doses of the neutralizer on the spot isn't possible. To survive, they need to evade the kiss zombies and head to the chemistry laboratory. Leaving the pursuing zombies behind, Rentaro and Kusuri find themselves on the way to the laboratory. However, their escape is cut short as they encounter the girls again. In a bid to slow down the pursuing girls, Kusuri searches for a drug. She pulls out a potent drug capable of melting the skin and causing intense pain. Despite its potential effectiveness, Rentaro firmly prohibits her from using it on the girls. They then start running again. Rentaro observes that the girls are unusually faster than normal. He speculates that their enhanced speed may be a result of superhuman abilities acquired due to the absence of limits. As the chase continues, Rentaro and Kusuri face another unexpected twist. The vice principal appears in the hallway, seemingly intent on kissing them. Kusuri throws a drug at the vice principal, leaving her really angry because they messed up her makeup. Seeing the vice principal in this furious state, Rentaro compares her appearance to the view of an abyss staring back at them. Kasari realizes that her drug didn't work on the old woman because her makeup blocked its effects. Rentaro expresses his belief that science can't overcome the monsters they are facing. Despite the setback with the vice principal, they manage to get rid of her. However, the zombies are still on their tail. This time, they decide to split up to try and ambush the pursuing zombies. Rentaro remembers that the zombie's objective is to kiss him, so he can separate from Kasari. They successfully execute the plan, and Rentaro finds himself being chased by Shizuka. Despite the drug, he notices that her speed is still slow due to her weak physical ability. Planning to lose her before the other 3 zombies surround him, Rentaro runs away, but Shizuka falls to the ground. Concerned for her well-being, he checks on her, sees her red forehead, and decides to take her to the infirmary. After taking care of her, Shizuka returns to kiss him, and Rentaro realizes he's caught in a Resident Evil version of the zombie kiss. Trying to resist, he is kissed multiple times, making him lose track of time. Realizing his duty, Rentaro pushes Shizuka away, determined to return her to normal. He suspends her in the air with a clothes hanger and leaves, promising to bring her back to normal. On his way to the laboratory, Rentaro encounters 2 other zombies, leading to another chase. This time, they use their heads, and Kairin throws Hikari towards Rentaro, immobilizing him. Hikari is the first to kiss him, followed by Kairin, and they take turns. Rentaro feels his mind erasing again. Unlike Shizuka, they are more challenging for him to resist. However, after the kisses, they start arguing among themselves. Rentaro observes that even though the girls have turned into zombies, they still act the same as before. Seizing the opportunity, he takes advantage of their distraction and makes them kiss each other, causing them to forget about him. Rentaro explains that the drug they took compels them to kiss whoever they like uncontrollably. In essence, the 2 girls actually love each other, leading to their constant troublemaking. Rentaro, initially confused by their behavior, realizes he had mistaken their friendship for passion. He watches them kissing until he remembers his purpose, to go to the chemistry laboratory. Upon opening the door, he unexpectedly encounters Nano. Quickly closing the door, Rentaro hides in a closet. When Nano exits, she doesn't spot anyone. But Rentaro senses the need to think of a plan as she might find him soon. Putting his hopes in Kasuri, he wishes she takes the chance to enter the laboratory. However, to his surprise, Kasuri is also hiding with him. Feeling hopeless, Rentaro questions her presence. Kasuri explains that when she tried to enter the laboratory, Nano saw her, and so she hid there to avoid being found. This revelation raises suspicions because Nano should be searching for Rentaro, the one she wants to kiss. Kasuri suggests that Nano might have realized they were together, and Rentaro acknowledges that it was Nano's order to surround them. It becomes evident that becoming a kiss zombie did not erase all of Nano's intelligence. Despairing at the thought of being found, Rentaro and Kasuri discuss a plan. Kasuri proposes that Rentaro should run out to attract Nano's attention, allowing her to enter the chemistry laboratory. While Rentaro has also considered this idea, he worries it would seem suspicious if he ran away immediately after hiding, potentially alerting Nano to their tactic. Desperation sets in as they realize time is running out to reverse the effects. Kasuri, overcome with guilt, begins to cry and confesses that she always causes problems with her drugs. She reveals her financial struggles and ongoing failures in the chemistry club but emphasizes that she doesn't want to be hated or burden Rentaro. Expressing her deep love for him, Kasuri decides to take the extreme step of giving up on developing drugs forever. Just as despair seems to prevail, she suddenly remembers that she has a dose of the reversal drug, bringing relief to Rentaro. The situation takes a positive turn as they only need 1 dose of the reversal drug to confront Nano and access the laboratory. Rentaro, impressed, calls Kasuri a genius for her quick thinking. However, as Kasuri begins taking the potion, Rentaro questions if it was meant for Nano. To his surprise, Kasuri clarifies that she consumed the potion to return to her normal size because Nano doesn't know her in that form. Observing Rentaro turning red, Kasuri explains that the effects of the drug will wear off soon, and they shouldn't touch each other until then. Considering their plan, Kasuri comes up with a strategy to tie Nano up using her new appearance as a surprise. Facing Nano, Kasuri attempts to use tape to capture her, but the zombie becomes suspicious and captures Kasuri first. Rentaro loses hope, thinking their plan to produce the reversal drug is doomed. However, noticing some of the reversal drug on the floor, he seizes the opportunity and runs away, with Nano chasing him. Rentaro manages to hide in a room, but Nano forcefully enters, tearing off the handle and parts of the door. She successfully kisses him, and fake credits appear on the screen. Just then, Kasuri enters the room and makes Nano drink the reversal drug. Nano questions Rentaro if it was all part of his plan, and he confirms it. His intention was to lure Nano away, buying time until the effects of the reversal drug wore off, causing Kasuri to shrink and untie herself automatically. Explaining the plan to Kasuri, Rentaro realizes that she might not have understood the details. In her mind, he could have used a medicine to melt the ropes. Deciding to set that aside for the moment, they hurry to offer the reversal medicine to the other affected girls. After everyone wakes up from the reversal, Hikari apologizes to Rentaro for her actions. However, she soon recalls kissing Karen, creating a commotion as she claims not to remember anything. Karen contradicts her, stating that she remembers everything, including kissing Hikari. In its tsundere fashion, Karen denies remembering anything, echoing Hikari's stance. Kasuri draws everyone's attention, apologizing for the trouble caused by her drug that led to their unusual situation. Rentaro gently reminds Kasuri that it was one of her drugs that reversed their situation, bringing everything back to balance. He assures her that he is willing to take responsibility for any issues caused by her drugs and urges her not to give up on inventing them. Rintaro emphasizes that inventing drugs is what Kasuri loves to do the most. Expressing his admiration, Rintaro acknowledges that Kasuri's passion for her work is one of the reasons he loves her. The other girls present are left speechless by this heartfelt declaration. Overwhelmed with emotion, Kasuri hugs Rintaro and openly declares her love for him and her deep passion for creating drugs. The story continues as Rintaro visits Lavazono Flower Park and is captivated by its beauty. Nano mentions that it's an ideal spot to explore a variety of plants. Kasuri plans to collect nectar for her drug research, while the other girls enjoy the scenery. Rintaro expresses gratitude to Hikari for suggesting the park, and she agrees that it was worth recommending. Hikari wanted to bring him there, and as they talk, an announcement interrupts them. A man informs through the intercom about the upcoming monthly event, Bouquet Toss. Hikari explains it's a major attraction where the lucky person catching the bouquet can wear a wedding dress adorned with the park's flowers. The fortunate girl also gets a special photo session with a loved one. Excited, Rintaro decides to participate, and Hikari reveals that wearing this wedding dress has been her dream since childhood. She is determined to make this dream come true. Together, they head to the location of the big event. When they arrive, Rintaro notices a crowd eager for the bouquet. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman stands out, urging her friends to help her catch the bouquet for a special photo shoot. Confused, Rintaro asks Nano, who explains that they're from a Japanese motorcycle gang called the Gorilla Syndicate. Rintaro appreciates his well-informed girlfriend, Nanopedia. Hikari suggests they join forces to improve their chances against the gorillas. They decide to draw lots for the photo session, and everyone agrees. Rintaro, concerned about the enthusiastic gorillas, suggests Shizuka not participate to avoid any harm. Kurine supports this idea, considering Shizuka's height might make her hard to spot in the crowd. Kasuri takes a potion to grow bigger. Rintaro notices the gorilla's distinctive flags and decides to make his own with a towel and pen, labeling it Rintaro Family. Everyone is taken aback by him calling them family. Rintaro pumps up the team with a spirited war cry. The gorilla gang is cheering, but they pause when they see Shizuka and appreciate her cuteness. The presenter then announces the bouquet toss, emphasizing a strict no-violence rule. Baba Ant, a former soccer athlete turned shot putter, is introduced as the tosser. Rintaro is surprised to see his vice principal in this role and learns about Baba's shot putting background. The presenter asks Baba about her motivation, and she reveals a quirky desire to throw the bouquet out of the Earth's atmosphere to prevent happiness. Despite the strange motivation, the presenter proceeds with the event and starts a countdown for the bouquet toss. Baba tosses the bouquet with no concern, focused on earning money for spending on strippers. Participants rush toward the bouquet, and the gorilla gang begins attacking some of them. Rintaro realizes they are not concerned about maintaining civility. The gang captain clarifies that their violence is only directed at each other as part of their training. She tosses one of her henchmen toward Hikari, but Karen steps in to hold the gorilla's back. Karen decides to play by the same rules and acts like a gorilla for a moment. She goes after the captain, impressing her with her strength, but the captain unintentionally insults Karen by comparing her to a gorilla. Unfazed, Karen instructs the others to go for the bouquet while she deals with the captain. The gorillas use their flags to create a wind tornado, diverting the bouquet towards the captain. Rintaro confronts the gorillas, refusing to let them win. In the sky, Shizuka, aided by the Rintaro family flag, is seen flying. Rintaro realizes Shizuka's advantage in seeing the approaching tornado from her elevated position in the cheering group. Shizuka effortlessly catches the bouquet, but as she does, she releases the flag and begins to free fall. The girls team up to catch Shizuka as she falls, but she ends up landing on their melons and bounces into the air. Rintaro hurries to rescue her just in time. The gorilla captain gets angry upon seeing that the bouquet was successfully caught. Karen expresses gratitude for the spirited competition and emotionally shakes hands with the girls. Karen reflects on her relief for not being with the girls when Shizuka jumped onto their beds because her skeletal frame wouldn't have been much help. The victory is celebrated with joy, and Hikari suggests deciding who will take the photo with Rintaro. She introduces a raffle kit with toothpicks. To win, a person has to pick the toothpick with a red mark. As Hikari mixes the toothpicks, she reveals her premeditated plan. Knowing catching the bouquet would be tough, she had already envisioned everyone cooperating. Hikari suggests conducting the draw even before the bouquet is thrown, avoiding suspicion. She points out that the stick with the red mark has a small visible cut on the side. To avoid suspicion during the toothpick draw, Hikari devises a plan. She decides to let someone else go first and chooses Nano, believing her efficiency-focused nature would likely ensure she picks the closest stick. Hikari mentally apologizes for her strategy, but is determined to make her childhood dream come true. However, Nano's efficiency surprises Hikari and all the girls quickly get their toothpicks. To Hikari's surprise, she gets the red toothpick. She gets really happy as her dream finally came true. On their other side, Kusuri throws a tantrum and Rentaro reassures her, saying there will be more opportunities in the future. Hikari feels sorry for Kusuri, who hasn't made strong memories with Rentaro yet. She decides to let Kusuri take the photos instead. Kusuri expresses gratitude, thanks Hikari, and confesses her love for both Hikari and Rentaro. She says that watching her two favorite people take a photo together would be very fun. Hikari suggests taking photos together, despite Karen mentioning they always do that. They decide to have a group photo. Afterward, Hikari expresses gratitude to Rentaro for making her dream come true. She shares that her days have been happy since meeting him, and her life has felt like a dream. Rentaro reciprocates the feelings, thanking Hikari for everything. When Hikari makes a seemingly selfish request, Rentaro is open to granting it. To his surprise, she asks to break up. Rentaro is confused and plans to talk to her later to understand her reason. However, he learns that Hikari has left the park for an urgent appointment. Kusuri suggests she might have just gone to the restroom, and Nano inquires if something happened to Hikari. Rentaro reassures them and promises to talk to Hikari. When he tries to call her, Hikari doesn't answer. Rentaro recalls receiving an envelope from Hikari containing her bikini photos. Curious, he opens it, believing it might contain her address. His hunch is right, and he arrives at a grand house with a garden, lake, and fountain. Spotting Hikari through a window, he excitedly calls out to her, but she hushes him and warns him to stay quiet. A security guard hears a noise and checks, so Rentaro hides just in time. Hikari calls him from an unknown phone, saying they have little time. Rentaro, confused about their sudden separation, asks for an explanation. Hikari reveals she doesn't love him anymore and wants him to move on without her. However, Rentaro senses she's hiding something and refuses to leave until she tells the truth. Hikari opens up, saying her mother found out about them. Despite explaining their honest relationship and her happiness, her mother disapproved. She took Hikari's phone, transferred her to a different school, and planned to move the next day. Hikari doesn't even know where she'll be going. Rentaro gets upset upon hearing Hikari's explanation. Hikari says that how her mother's is. She also says that her mother have a lot of money and use it to bend everything at her will. She believes her mother will keep separating them if they meet again. Hikari's mother overhears their conversation, takes the phone, and warns Rentaro never to approach her daughter again or else she can get rid of teenage boy like him if necessary. Hikari's mother abruptly hangs up despite Rentaro's attempts to talk. Rentaro shouts to get attention, but the security guard catches him and asks him to get out. Rentaro explains he needs to talk to the residents, but the guard reveals he has orders not to let him in. Despite Rentaro insisting it's important, the guard says things don't always go as one wishes, especially for a teenager with limited capability. Meanwhile, Hikari pleads with her mother to let the situation pass. Her mother refuses, insisting on sending Rentaro away so Hikari can't see him again. Hikari promises never to disobey her mother again, hoping to avoid harm to Rentaro. Hikari's mother hugs her daughter, internally criticizing Rentaro as a fifth-rate insect and expressing her disapproval of their relationship. Later in the afternoon, Rentaro comes back home feeling really sad. He remembers Hikari's words and how the security guard said he couldn't do anything because he's just a teenager. Rentaro is frustrated and defeated, so he hits his head against the wall. He feels weak, doesn't have much knowledge, money, or power, and doubts he can love someone like Hikari. While looking down, he finds a 4-leaf clover, reminding him of the day he first met Hikari. Rentaro tells the other girls everything, and Kurain wonders why Hikari didn't speak up earlier. Kasuri asks Rentaro about their plan, and he decides to sneak into the mansion and rescue Hikari. Kurain and Nano doubt the plan's success because of Hikari's mother's wealth. Despite the challenges, Rentaro is determined to make Hikari happy and bets everything on this rescue plan. He remembers Hikari's sad look in the window, fueling his determination. Rentaro plans to escape the city with Hikari that night, even though he knows it's uncertain. He promises to come back one day and asks the girls to wait for them. Kurain finds the plan convenient but decides to help Rentaro rescue Hikari, and the other girls offer their help too. Rentaro knows it's not a simple decision, but as he looks at the girls, he realizes they all love Hikari like him. With this in mind, he accepts their assistance. The story continues as the Rentaro family has reached Hikari's mansion, and they've managed to get past the fancy gates. The garden inside is so beautiful that everyone is impressed. Nano thinks entering through the garden was a smart move because the noise from the fountain covered the sound of their arrival. Rentaro warns them about strict security, so they need to be careful. Before getting into the serious stuff, they all join hands to celebrate the start of their mission. Rintaro tries calling Hikari, but she doesn't answer. To get her attention, Rintaro takes out a ball from his backpack. Karen asks what he plans to do with it, and Rintaro explains he wants to throw the ball towards Hikari's window, and then use his rope to bring it down. However, when he throws the ball, he can't reach the window. After searching for it, Rintaro realizes the ball is gone. Karen finds a cat playing with it, but the cat runs away when Rintaro tries to catch it. Nano suggests kicking the cat to stop it, but Rintaro steps in to prevent her from being too harsh, or else Peto will sue them. The noise they make attracts a security guard, and they hide. The cat goes to the security guard, ready to play. Kasari expresses disappointment, saying they've lost the ball for sure. Rintaro says that their only option to enter the house is now gone. Nano points out that because there are cats around, there might be a small door for animals to enter the house. When they see the door, Shizuka tells them that the door is probably only big enough for a baby. Karen asks Kasari if she has a drug that can shrink the body. Kasari explains she hasn't made a drug like that, because the one she mentioned was an immortality potion that didn't work. Nano displays some stones she collected from the garden. Afterward, she successfully opens the door, explaining that she could determine the lock's location and type based on the door's shape. By throwing the stones at the right angle and speed, she could force the lock to open. She urges them to enter quickly, emphasizing the risk of mission failure if they linger too long. However, upon examining Nano's hand, Rintaro notices a broken and bleeding nail. Karen retrieves a bandage from Rintaro's bag and wraps it around Nano's finger. Nano explains that she needed to use her fingernail for precision and speed when throwing the stones. Karen admonishes Nano for going too far. Nano, however, justifies her actions by mentioning a favor she owes Hikari for a past incident in the park. But then she corrects herself, stating that it's not for a favors but she genuinely wants to help her. Upon entering the house, they encounter a guard dog. Rintaro advises them to leave promptly, as an attack could jeopardize their mission. But as they exit, he notices that Shizuka stayed behind because she was too frightened to run. Attempting to call her name, Nano stops him, explaining that yelling could agitate the dog and alert the security guard. Meanwhile, Shizuka blames herself for being left behind, considering it a burden. Then, she recalls Hikari's situation and Rintaro's commitment to giving his all to rescue her. Shizuka declares her intention to do the same, willing to give her best to help. She decides to lie down on the ground, offering herself as a sacrifice. Surprisingly, the dog approaches her and starts licking her. Nano clarifies that the dog doesn't seem interested in attacking Shizuka. In simple words, animals have a natural instinct to protect the weak, much like they would care for their own baby. However, Kurin questions whether this instinct extends to anyone invading their territory. Nano explains that Shizuka's extraordinary weakness overwhelmed the dog's territorial instincts. Rintaro reminds them that the dog will still be upset if they attempt to enter. Nano suggests having Shizuka gouge out the dog's eyes when she gets the chance, but Rintaro opposes this idea of animal abuse, especially since both the cat and the dog belong to Hikari's family. Kusari takes out one of her drugs, declaring that she will remedy the situation. Seeing this, Rintaro inquires about the type of drug it is. She explains that it is a medicine that instantly puts any animal to sleep. She instructs Shizuka to use the medicine. However, instead of giving it to the dog, Shizuka takes it herself. With her unconscious, there is no one else who can move around the house, but the dog continues licking her and inadvertently consumes the rest of the medicine in Shizuka's mouth. With that, they regain access to the house. They wake Shizuka up with the reversal medicine. As they progress, they encounter the cat once again. An alarm starts going off, and Rintaro observes that there is no way to escape down the hallway due to its extensive nature. Security guards arrive, and upon seeing the cat, they deduce that it was the one that set off the infrared sensors. Rintaro and the girls come out of hiding, and Nano explains that without infrared vision goggle, they have a 99% chance of failing the mission. Kasari takes out some eye drops, which actually has effect to give infrared vision. Rintaro thinks that this anime plot is really unexpected and convenient. But Nano explains that the chances of the Big Bang happening and them being here are even smaller, so he shouldn't be overly concerned about such a small coincidence. When he attempts to put the eye drops in his eyes, Kusari informs him that the medicine's side effect is temporary total blindness, except for infrared. Upon hearing this, he complains, stating that she should have warned him about this beforehand. And then Karen takes the paper from Kasari, and the girl quickly collects the paper, showing some discomfort in letting them read what's on it. But Nano had already read the address that was on the paper, and the address was for a team of foreign research, and with a large pharmaceutical laboratory. Upon hearing this, Karen remembers that Kasari wanted to be part of Dream Research Team, and Nano explains that if she doesn't post her application later that day, she will miss the deadline. And then Rentaro questions whether he really should have used her eye drops. And Kasari explains that even after she caused problems for Hikari because of her medicines, she continued to be his friend. Because of that, Kasari considers her more important than the research team. She assures them that the medicine will take effect soon, and they must prepare to save Hikari. Rentaro listens to her and realizes that each one of them loves Hikari and is doing their best. He gets all serious about saving her. But when Rentaro opens his eyes, he sees a bunch of infrared lights and realizes that it is impossible for even Tom Cruise. After some careful observation, he realizes that the ceiling is clear. After all, they can't put sensors where the chandeliers are. And Rentaro says they can pass through there. But Karen asks him how they are going to get up there, and upon hearing this, he realizes that it will actually be very difficult to get there for him, as the corridors are very wide, and therefore it would be impossible to climb the walls. However, Nano explains that it would still be possible to climb the walls with two people having enough strength, and because Rentaro is the only man there, she says that this wouldn't work. But when looking to the side, she remembers the disproportionate strength that Karen has. So she ties them both in the hallway so they can reach the ceiling. And when they get past the sensors, Rentaro says that now they just need to cross the hallway, and on the way, he comments that her clothes are much smoother and softer. And in order not to reveal that he is in contact with her skin, Karen lies, saying that the fabric of her clothes is just like that. And he explains that he is not able to differentiate things, as he is only seeing the sensors, and then he decides to keep walking. But Karen blushes and mentally asks him to stop rubbing his cheek against her belly. Seriously, what is that face and movement? Finally, they manage to pass through the sensors without being caught. But Karen wonders why she was acting like that and thinks that it might be because she is in the house of the horny dog. Rentaro asks the other girls to hide outside, to be ready when they escape. And as they go a little further, they reach Hikari's room. When she opens the door, Karen finds her crying and looking at their photos. Then the alarm rings once again, and Rentaro understands that that door was equipped with an alarm to prevent Hikari from escaping. She asks why they are there, and Rentaro says that they came to rescue her. But looking back, he notices that they have been surrounded. Hikari's mother enters the room and asks what the two are doing there. Meanwhile, the girls stay outside and notice a sudden silence in the mansion. Then one of the security guards hears a noise and goes to check what's happening. They quickly hide and imitate a cat to avoid being discovered. As for Rentaro, he is taken to talk to Hikari's mother. She comments that this is the first time they have come face to face. She introduces herself as Hanazono Hahari and says that she will let them go just because they are friends of her daughter. However, she makes it clear that they will be restrained if they try to do anything suspicious. Then she asks if there is some special ability in his eyes, and Rentaro says no. Afterward, he decides to be more direct and asks Hahari to let him have a relationship with his daughter. He guarantees that he will keep her happy, but Hahari says he won't convince her with empty promises. She then explains a little about her life. She tells them that when Hikari was born she was only 13 years old, and she says that she had a daughter so early because her husband had a terminal illness. In that, she decided to get pregnant by him to have one last memory of her husband. And to do so, she had to risk artificial insemination and childbirth at 13 years of age. However, Hahari tells them that although she had a very reckless attitude, Hahari states that this is already a recurring thing in her family, as Hikari also goes blind when she is in love, believing that love is the only way to a happy life. However, her beloved died, and from that day on, she dedicated her life to taking care of Hikari. And because she loved her daughter very much, she became her only ray of hope. However, Hikari says that her daughter won't be able to replace the void her husband left. And then she started to question whether being a single mother was really the happy life she wanted for herself. And because of these uncertainties, she wants to protect Hikari from experiencing this regret too. And she explains that her daughter won't be able to realize this on her own, just as she herself didn't realize it when she was younger. And for that reason, she wants to open her eyes before it's too late, because for Hahari, there is no way her daughter can be happy next to a man who loves 5 girls at the same time. And with that, she ends by saying that he's not separating the two just for emotional reasons, but based on his own experiences, and that's why he won't be able to change her mind with just words. And upon hearing this, he starts to cry, and then Karen tries to calm him down and tells him to not fall for it. But Rentaro says that he understands her mother's side because, like Hikari, he also doesn't want to make Hikari regret anything. Then, his vision gradually becomes normal because he expelled the eye drops with his tears, and when his eyes are exposed, that shock of soulmates occurs again, but this time with Hahari. And for her, that was a historic event because the last time she felt those sparks of love was 16 years ago with her daughter's father. And at that time, the love was so intense that it left her completely blind. And she went through it, hating this feeling. But when faced with this same feeling once again, she ends up giving in and asks Rintaro to date her. We all know where this is going. The story continues as Hikari stays lonely in her room, and Crane looks at Hikari's mother with surprise, wondering how she could say such things to her daughter's boyfriend. Looking at Rintaro, Crane notices that he is also in love. Crane calls him crazy, reminding Rintaro that the woman is his girlfriend's mother. Then, Hikari's mother claims it was just a joke, but Crane still finds it confusing. Crane decides to stick to her stance, saying that she won't approve of the relationship between Rintaro and her daughter. Rintaro insists he won't give up on Hikari, promising to make her happy. A lie detector appears, and Hikari's mother tells him to test his faithfulness with the machine. Depending on Rintaro's love rate for Hikari, she wants him to stay away from her daughter's life. Rintaro sees an opportunity to prove his feelings for Hikari are genuine, but asks Hikari's mother to prove the device is reliable first. She thinks Rintaro's objection is reasonable, and puts Crane to the test, as it wouldn't be fair to test someone from her team. To begin the test, Hikari's mother asks about Crane's bra size. Despite Crane feeling uncomfortable, she answers truthfully that her bra size is B. However, the machine wrongly claims it's a lie. Angered, Crane smashes the machine, and it corrects itself, confirming she was telling the truth. Hikari's mother continues the test, asking if Crane loves Rintaro. Crane screams, asking her to stop, but Hikari's mother insists it's a valid question since they are lovers. Rintaro explains that Crane is a tsundere, and despite her naughty look, he thinks it makes her cuter. The test goes on, and Crane initially lies about her feelings. Disappointed, she decides to be more open, confessing her love for Rintaro. The machine finally confirms the truth, and Rintaro expresses his happiness, confirming his love for Crane using the machine. Hikari says Rintaro has proven that the lie detector works. She insists that it's time for him to test his true feelings for Hikari. According to her, the trial will reveal Rintaro's real character. The anime then shows a summarized scene of what will happen next. As expected, the machine confirms countless times that Rintaro's feelings for Hikari are true. Upon hearing this, Hikari is in disbelief. She claims it's impossible for him to be faithful and love her daughter while also dating 5 others. At the same time, Rintaro asks Hikari if she believes in his love now. Hikari states that the detector is just a machine, so she doesn't trust it 100%. Karen starts complaining about Hikari's skepticism, telling her not to bring up such nonsense. She mentions that Hikari sent her dignity down the drain just to test the machine. Additionally, Kine breaks the 4th wall, saying that Hikari couldn't do that after spending so many minutes in the anime. Kine suggests skipping the end of the episode to make up for lost time. Rintaro advises against it, mentioning that the producers created a special ending for this episode with spoilers. One of the maids urgently informs Hikari that her daughter is about to throw herself out of the window. Karen grabs Hikari and warns everyone not to move, threatening to break Hikari's neck. Seeing this, Rintaro is scared and urges everyone to obey Karen, as she is capable of carrying out her threat. Karen instructs Rintaro to stop wasting time and go after Hikari so they can run away together. Rintaro asks what she's going to do, and Karen expresses confidence that Rintaro will come back to rescue her. She believes she can wait for him because she trusts Rintaro. Rintaro leaves the room, thanking Karen for her help. Hikari manages to slowly walk toward her daughter's room, despite Karen holding her. Karen is determined to stop Hikari at all costs, because if she can't prevent her from escaping, Rintaro and Hikari won't be able to share a moment together like during the bouquet festival. Karen tightens her grip on Hikari, emphasizing the strength of their friendship. Meanwhile, 2 guards watch Hikari from the window, observing the threat of her throwing herself. Rintaro finally arrives in Hikari's room, assuring her that everything is fine now because he's there to pick her up. Hikari finds it strange that he managed to get there, and Rintaro explains that Karen is holding her mother, making it impossible for anyone to stop them from escaping. Hikari expresses concern that even if they both escape, they will need to keep running away forever. She doesn't want to live a life that ruins Rintaro's life too, and considering these words, Rintaro contemplates their situation. Rintaro tells Hikari to stop the idea of throwing herself out of the window because it would ruin not only her life, but also his. He says he can't imagine living a life without her, and even if they have to live as fugitives, he'll be happy as long as she's with him. He reassures her of his love, expressing that he will always love her. In response, Hikari starts crying and confesses that she loves him too. She wishes to be with him forever. Rintaro instructs her to leave the balcony, but before she can move, fear overtakes her as the adrenaline drains from her body. Hikari becomes terrified of the height. To help her, Rintaro walks towards her to catch her. However, as she starts to fall, he catches her just in time to prevent anything worse from happening. Despite successfully catching her, he realizes that he won't be able to pull her back up due to her bad position near the window. Finally reaching her daughter's room, Hikari urges Rintaro to let go quickly to avoid both of them falling. However, Rintaro refuses and decides that they will fall together. He kicks the wall, changing the trajectory of their fall, and they land safely in a pool. Afterward, he hugs her and expresses relief that everything went well. Karen and Hikari go downstairs to check on things, and upon confirming that her friend is okay, Karen slaps Rintaro in the face. This is because she was very worried about his life. Hikari tells Rintaro that if they hadn't gotten out of the pool, both of them would be dead by now. She emphasizes again that his goal is to make her daughter happy, even if it means risking his life to do so. With this display of love, Hikari finally starts to believe in Rintaro's words. Hikari bows down and asks Rintaro to take care of her daughter. Seeing this, Rintaro understands that everything Hikari was doing was for the best of her daughter, even if it meant separating them and going against her own daughter's wishes. However, he believes that Hikari will live unhappily in these conditions. To change that, he promises to make both Hikari and her happy. Rintaro also expresses his desire for Hikari's mother to live the joyful life she once dreamed of. Hikari's mother then asks if that would be his answer to the statement she made before. Rintaro affirms, saying yes, and mentions that it would be an honor to date her too. Upon hearing this, Hikari is curious when her mother declared herself to him. Embarrassed and unsure of what to say, Hikari's mother simply hugs him. After that, Hikari invites the girls to a bath. While in the bath, they notice the giant bathtub and casually comment on its size. The conversation takes an unexpected turn when Kasari starts talking about Hari's chest, suggesting it's quite large. Hikari responds by mentioning her daughter, insisting she's not left behind in that aspect. To level the playing field, Kasari takes a potion that transforms her into an adult, sparking jealousy in Crane. Crane, feeling uneasy, decides to leave the bath and heads to Rintaro's room. When Rintaro sees her with her belly exposed, he blushes and informs her of the wardrobe malfunction. Crane quickly covers herself, teasing Rintaro about his reaction. She brings up a past memory when Rintaro had his face against her belly, asking if he remembers. Rintaro, flustered, denies noticing and claims he did it to prevent them from falling. Crane, seeking revenge, playfully throws him onto the bed and rubs her face on his stomach. Rintaro jokingly comments that it feels more like a reward. As they share a private moment, Kasari unexpectedly opens the door, and the two pretend to be training together. After the incident, Hikari announces it's time for a sleepover. The girls find Hikari's clothes strange, and she explains that her mother loves cute things, immediately putting costumes on them. The girls are instructed to get dressed quickly, and when Rintaro sees them, he blushes and compliments their appearance. Hikari singles out Kasari and Shizuka, saying their clothes are the highlight. Rintaro and Hikari are taken aback, with Rintaro joking that they've made the universe blush. To add to his surprise, Kasari and Shizuka give him a joint kiss. Meanwhile, Hikari decides to go to the kitchen to drink water, and Rintaro offers to accompany her. On the way, she apologizes for her earlier excitement, and Rintaro understands that it was due to her suppressed feeling. He reassures her that there are plenty of enjoyable things ahead for them. Hikari blushes again and invites him to her room. They goes to room and start having fun. Meanwhile, Karen begins to miss Rintaro. Shizuka notices that they're taking quite a while to get water, making Hikari suspect that something might be wrong. Even though they're talking about her mother, Karen feels it's getting to be too much. Hikari decides to check on them and rushes towards the two. When they enter the room, they find Rintaro dressed up in cosplay as a girl. This excites all the girls, and they thank Hikari for the idea of dressing him as a woman. On the other hand, Rintaro turns red with embarrassment and falls to the floor in shame. Seeing him like this, Hikari gets worried and lies down on his chest. Hikari assures them that she can bring him back to life, but will need Nano's help. After a 5-minute wait, Nano appears with a prince to awaken the sleeping beauty, in this case, Rintaro. However, Nano is dressed as a man, surprising and freaking out all the girls. Hikari explains that only a kiss from a prince can wake the princess from her sleep. Nano takes Rintaro in her arms and kisses him, and as expected, he wakes up. Hikari is all silly about witnessing the scene, and Hikari goes to her to control her, mentioning that she is drooling. Karen joins in, stating that she's also drooling over the scene. Finally, Rintaro gets angry, takes off his wig, and declares that he's going to take a bath. Later, a maid shows up with a rope. Hahari and her daughter decide to go to the bathroom, planning to spy on Rintaro while he takes a shower. However, Karen thinks it's a bad idea and advises against it. Kasari, on the other hand, is excited about the idea, admitting that she's never seen a boy naked before. Nano supports Kasari, saying it makes sense to observe her partner's body to prepare for what's to come. Everyone is eager to see Rintaro, and Karen decides to join in, although she clarifies that she's not interested in seeing his body. As they get close to the bathroom door, Shizuka enters and questions if they shouldn't be afraid of disappointing Rintaro. Nano reassures her that nothing will happen if he doesn't know, but Shizuka is still scared. Hahari believes the guilt is too much for Shizuka to bear, so they decide to detain her. Hikari promises to bring back memories for Shizuka. Meanwhile, Rintaro suggests that the girls might try to take secret pictures of him. To avoid that, he decides to stay wrapped in a towel. When Kasari reaches the window, she realizes she can't see well because the glass is fogged up. Trying to get a better look, she puts her face closer to the window. When Rintaro sees her, he gets scared, thinking Kasari looks like a ghost. Karen quickly pulls Kasari back up, and when Rintaro looks back, the mysterious figure is gone, bringing him a momentary sense of relief. However, a drop of water drips on Rintaro's back, startling him again. In a hurry, Rintaro washes faster to get out of there as soon as possible. Suddenly, another mysterious person appears, watching him from the window. The situation becomes more mysterious and suspenseful as Rintaro tries to navigate the unexpected events in the bathroom. We then see Shizuka, who remains trapped and can't free herself. She worries that if she stays like this, the girls will embarrass Rintaro to the point where he'll feel guilty and ask for a punishment, like being dragged around the city as he lacks scruples. On the other side of the story, the girls give in to lust, burdening Rintaro with a heavy sense of guilt. They contemplate dragging themselves around the city as a form of self-condemnation. In the tragic end, Shizuka finds herself crying at Rintaro's grave, but she doesn't want to live like that. She attempts to break free again to stop the girls, but all she can do is roll away. Meanwhile, the maid shows the girls the attic, and Hahari suggests it as an alternative route to reach the bathroom and spy on Rintaro. They embark on their mission, and the maid wishes them good luck. Karen starts worrying about potential rats in the attic, but Hahari reassures her, mentioning that her team always keeps the place sanitized. Suddenly, Hahari feels something touching her leg and, in fear, drops her cell phone. Hikari also feels something and starts screaming. Amidst the despair, it turns out to be the family cat, and Nano tries to divert her focus from the mouse by recalling the numbers in Pi's formula. As for Shizuka, she encounters a ladder on her way, obstructing her progress. Despite the obstacle, she believes she needs to go through with it to save the world. She starts counting to 3, but as she finishes, she feels her heart beating fast with fear. She realizes she still needs to mentally prepare herself for the challenging task ahead. Suddenly, the family dog barks. Shizuka gets scared and rushes down the stairs. In the process, she manages to free herself from her clothes. Shizuka rolls away to the bathroom where Rintaro is taking a shower. Already frightened, Rintaro is startled by her sudden arrival. However, he quickly realizes that the girl is Shizuka and not a ghost. Concerned, Rintaro asks if she is okay, but in his carelessness, the towel on his body falls off, exposing himself. Seeing this, Shizuka falls back, and Rintaro catches her to help. Suddenly, the other girls appear in the bathroom, claiming they were just playing hide and seek there. Karen insists they weren't trying to spy on him. However, the other girls are outraged by such a ridiculous excuse. Rintaro, although somewhat understanding, scolds them to prevent any similar incidents, emphasizing the potential for harm. After the scolding, they decide to play cards together. During the game, Hahari accidentally touches Rintaro and apologizes. However, Karen notices Hahari's attempt to create a romantic comedy atmosphere and tells her to stop. Nano suggests that playing cards is what they should be doing. Suddenly, Hahari remembers something she needs to do and leaves the place. Rintaro senses that something is wrong, but when he tries to follow her, he ends up getting lost in the mansion. Guided by his sense of smell, he decides to follow it. Entering a room, he finds Hahari sitting and praying to a photo of a boy. Initially, Rintaro decides not to bother her, but then he recalls how dejected she had become and decides to help her in any way he can. Rintaro approaches Hahari and asks about the boy in the photo. Hahari reveals that he is her daughter's father and the last man she loved. Rintaro wonders why, given that many men must have approached her, she chose to remain alone. Hahari hesitates to talk about it, but Rintaro insists, expressing his desire to help as her boyfriend. Finally, Hahari confesses that she hasn't fully overcome the death of her old boyfriend, feeling she has no right to love another man. Despite falling in love with Rintaro, she sees it as wrong. Rentaro reassures her, saying she doesn't need to forget her old romance. He believes it's possible to love more than one person at the same time, assuring her that the love she has for him is genuine. Rentaro suggests pouring out all the love in her heart to make it real, promising to let her know if his love ever stops being real. Hahari, moved, hugs him, confessing her love, and asks for a kiss. Before the kiss, Hahari recalls her old boyfriend's advice to save her first kiss for someone special who promises never to leave her alone. She apologizes for being direct, but Rentaro pulls her away and kisses her. Later that night, Hikari leaves her spot on the bed to sleep with Rentaro. Karen notices Hikari's attempt to outsmart the others and questions her. Hikari reveals she just wants to sleep next to him, expressing her fear of never being with him again. Rentaro kisses her to comfort her, assuring that won't happen. As they sleep, Hikari requests to sleep hugging each other. In the middle of the night, Rentaro wakes up with Hikari and Karen dreaming that they are kissing him, only to realize they are kissing each other. Rentaro decides to go to the bathroom, encountering Hikari's father watching the sky through the window. He greets him and questions why he took his wife and daughter. Rentaro calls him father-in-law and asserts that he has something to say. Despite initial anger, Hikari's father realizes Rentaro isn't afraid and listens to what he has to say. Rentaro shares with Hikari's father that he's only afraid of ghosts, expressing his belief that as Hikari's father, he must be a good-hearted person. Hikari's father, however, complains about Rentaro's courage, considering charging him to make them both happy. In response, Rentaro assures him that he will make them happy at any cost, emphasizing his dedication. Hikari's father, having taken care of them for 16 years, appreciates Rentaro's sincerity, noting that no one else approached them with such dedication. Hikari's father feels grateful that Rentaro has brought a new love into Hikari's life. He explains that his intention was always to make the people he loves happy. Rentaro asks him to trust Hikari, and Hikari in his hands, and Hikari's father readily accepts. Rentaro expresses his gratitude for bringing Hikari into the world and making her happy long before Rentaro himself was born. As Hikari's father begins to shine, he explains that his trust in Rentaro has lessened his regrets for abandoning them. However, as he starts to move to the other world, Rentaro tries to pull him back, reminding him of their promise to take care of them together. The next day, Rentaro wakes up, questioning if it was all just a dream. The enchanting fairy tale night has come to an end. Rentaro gathers the other girls to leave, and Hikari invites them to visit whenever they want. As they leave the mansion, they temporarily go their separate ways. However, Hikari buys Rentaro's school just to be closer to him. When Rentaro goes to the mansion, the maid informs him that Hikari is at school, leaving him intrigued. Rentaro rushes to school during lunch break to clear up the confusion. As he runs back, a glimpse of his upcoming girlfriends is shown. Upon his arrival, everyone is waiting, and they share a joyful reunion, hugging each other. With this heartwarming conclusion, Season 1 ends.
The story begins with Hikari sharing her wisdom, getting philosophical about how relationships tend to lose their spark after 3 months. She then points out the obvious. More than 3 months have passed since the last episode in 2023, and now it's 2025. The girls are not happy about this. Shizuka complains that she hasn't even had a proper conversation with Rentaro, while Hikari grumbles that she only got 2 episodes to date him. The other girls agree that Rentaro has been slacking. Hikari announces that she has a brilliant idea. Right on cue, Kusuri barges into the room with a mysterious potion. She proudly declares that it's a special medicine designed to make Rentaro love them all. Just like before. Kusuri starts mixing her concoction, but as expected, chaos follows. A massive explosion shakes the room. Rentaro, hearing the boom, rushes to the scene like a firefighter running into a burning building. He doesn't even look surprised. Instead, he sighs and points out that the season just started and they're already causing trouble. What he walks into is absolute madness. Everyone's souls have been swapped. Kahari and Hahari, realizing the gravity of the situation, try to stop the 100 Girlfriends theme music from playing in the background, shouting that it's no time for celebration. Rentaro, still trying to figure out what's going on, asks for an explanation. The girls tell him that Kusuri's experiment backfired and now all their souls are mixed up. Naturally, this leads to bickering and utter chaos. Rentaro takes charge, telling everyone to calm down and explain who's in whose body. Naturally, chaos breaks out. Kusuri, now in Hikari's body, is jumping around like a kid who just discovered sugar, gushing over her new figure. Then, without shame, she announces she needs to use the bathroom. Nano, now in Kusuri's body, panics and drags her away before things get any more embarrassing. Hikari, now stuck in Nano's body, struggles to walk straight. She ends up clinging to Rentaru for support. Rentaru doesn't even hesitate. He immediately recognizes her. Hikari is amazed and starts wondering if Rentaru has some secret soulmate radar. Meanwhile, Karain, now in Hikari's body, is over the moon about how tall and stacked she feels. She can't stop groping herself and marveling at the big bag's upgrade until Rentaru glances her way. She yells, "Stop staring, pervert!" which, of course, completely gives her away. Shizuka, now in Karain's body, stays quiet, making her the easiest to identify. Nano in Shizuka's body is her usual quirky self, so it's not exactly hard for Rentaru to figure that one out either. Despite the madness, Rentaru pieces everything together like a pro detective, correctly identifying everyone. The girls are impressed, but still stuck in the wrong bodies. Hikari, now in Kusuri's body, announces the solution. Rentaru has to kiss each of them to swap their souls back. The girls light up like it's Christmas morning, eagerly lining up to kiss Rentaru. Rentaru, looking like he's about to run a marathon, reluctantly agrees. One by one, the girls kiss him. Hikari goes first, followed by the rest. With every kiss, their souls return to their rightful bodies. Rentaru, on the other hand, looks like he just ran out of battery by the end of it. The girls, back to normal, are thrilled and act like they didn't just drain the life out of him. Just as things settle down, a new girl enters the picture. At a shop, Rentaru and a middle schooler reach for the same item at the same time. Their hands touch, and the soulmate spark strikes again. Rentaru instantly realizes she's his 7th soulmate. The girl, annoyed, snaps at him for being weird. She accuses him of having a problem with junior high students. Rentaru, trying to keep the peace, apologizes, but she storms off to a park. Not one to give up, Rentaru follows her and offers her a piece of toast. The girl looks at him like he's offering poison, refusing to take it, but her growling stomach betrays her and she reluctantly accepts. While eating, she insists she's not impressed, even as she scarfs it down like it's the best thing she's ever had. She finally admits she was cranky because she was starving and apologizes for snapping at him earlier. Later, the girl, Kurumi Nana, is seen obsessing over a specific sandwich that everyone in her class has been talking about. She searches the cafeteria for it, but it's sold out. Rentaru shows up just as she's about to blow a gasket. She snaps at him again, but Rentaru just shrugs and mentions that he loves sandwiches because they're fun to eat. This only makes her more annoyed, and she storms off, muttering about how everything always goes wrong for her. By the end of the day, Rentaru surprises her with the very sandwich she's been craving. She hesitates but eventually takes it. After a bite, she's blown away by how good it is. When she asks how he made it, Rentaru explains, even showing her the burn on his hand from cooking it. Kurumi, feeling guilty, softens and asks why he's being so nice. Rentaru explains that watching her enjoy food makes him happy, adding that she doesn't just eat to survive, she truly loves it. Kurumi blushes and shyly admits food tastes better when she's with him. Gathering her courage, she asks Rentaru to be her boyfriend so they can eat together every day. Rentaru, completely touched, agrees. Later, Rentaru introduces Kurumi to the rest of his girlfriends. The girls tease him, with Karain joking about how his taste in girlfriends gets more unique by the day. Rentaru fires back by calling Kurumi his hungry girl. Kurumi, not one to back down, boldly declares that she's only interested in Rentaru, shocking everyone. Nano, always the peacemaker, warmly welcomes Kurumi into the group. The episode wraps up with Rentaru showing the group a poster for a food festival with a big prize. Kurumi, fired up, claims she'll win it on her own, but the group convinces her to join them instead. Together, they prepare for the festival, ready to take on whatever comes their way. Next day, at the Food Fight Festival, the chaos is already in full swing. The rules are simple: 10 players per team, 5 rounds, and anyone can sub in or out. The team with the most points wins. Easy enough, right? Well, Nako, the overly dramatic anchor, was showing off like she was the main character, which annoyed Karain to no end. Meanwhile, Rentaru joined the festival to help the team bond, especially Kurumi, who barely spoke to anyone. The first round was a rice-eating challenge. The rules were clear: more rice means more points, but side dishes didn't count. Nano reminded everyone that eating side dishes was pointless, and the team thought they had this round in the bag. Then, Kurumi declared she could handle it all by herself. This didn't sit well with Karane, who yelled that they were a team and needed to act like one. Rentaro stepped in to calm her down before things got messy. The round started, and Rentaro got straight to eating rice, but Kurumi couldn't resist the side dishes. Rentaro, being Rentaro, brought her some and suggested she enjoy both. That was all Kurumi needed to activate her turbo mode. She started devouring food like a black hole. The other teams were shocked, calling them stupid for eating side dishes. This set Rentaro off, and he challenged whoever said it to step up. Hikari tried to calm him, but you could tell she was enjoying the drama. Karain had to pull them apart before it got ugly. Meanwhile, Kurumi's eating frenzy inspired the rest of the team to grab side dishes too. Rentaro kept eating rice like a machine, and bowls just kept coming. Karain was stunned, asking how he could eat so much. Hikari and Nano told him to slow down, but Rentaro smiled and said the food tasted different every time, making all the girls swoon. By the end of the round, the Taro family placed third. Karain was furious, but everyone praised Kurumi for her insane eating skills. Gorilla Syndicate came in second, and the first place team, a robotic-looking crew, was carried by a solo player, which left everyone in awe. The second round was bubble tea. Rentaro was still recovering from his rice marathon, so Kahari told him to rest. Kurumi, ignoring everyone's advice, insisted she'd handle this round too. Suzuka joined her, and they got to work drinking tea. At first they were fine, but 10 minutes in, the bubble tea turned into pure torture. Kurumi noticed Suzuka drinking carefully and realized she was perfect for this round. Meanwhile, Rentaro and Hikari cheered on their team, proud as ever. The third round was sushi. Nano joined Kurumi, and her eating style shocked everyone. She didn't even chew, just swallowed sushi whole like a pelican. When the round was almost over, Nano struggled with her last piece and ran off to another area. Nano climbed onto the anchor's platform and stole the show with her beauty. The audience was stunned, and all the boys fell for her instantly. Even I, your recap host, fell for her last season and still haven't recovered. Nano stylishly finished her sushi and secured second place, but she was clearly shaken. Rentaro, the hero, rushed to her side, gently picked her up, and carried her down like a prince in a rom-com. The third round was all about eating spicy mapo tofu. Kurumi was joined by Karane, who seemed perfect for this challenge since her fiery personality matched the dish. When the animator hinted at skipping details, Karane snapped, "Don't you dare cut my lines!" Kazuri calmly reminded her that they had limited running time. Next was the cake round, and Hare and Hikari joined Kurumi to help out. Everyone happily ate cake until they realized it was loaded with sugar. That's when panic set in. Too much sugar meant weight gain. Karain, unimpressed, scolded the team and sarcastically said, "If you eat too much sugar, the fat might even go to your chest." Inspired or desperate, two of the girls started shoveling cake into their mouths, hoping it would give them some extra cushioning up top. Apparently, even well-stocked shelves can always use more inventory. The round ended with Rentaro praising everyone's effort. Gorilla Syndicate, clearly confused, asked Rentaro how they managed to pull it off. Rentaro explained, "We're not doing this alone. We're working as a team. That's the power of love." Kurumi just stared at him, wondering what kind of romantic comedy he thought he was living in. As the final round approached, Kurumi, completely exhausted, asked how much longer this torture would last. Rentaro was busy massaging everyone's stomachs to help them recover, which led Kurumi to point out that he was probably in bad shape too. Rentaro smiled and said, "Once everyone's okay, I'll be fine too." Kurumi couldn't believe what kind of selfless guy she was dealing with. The final round was a ramen eating contest with the highest points on the line. Kurumi started the round solo since everyone else was too wiped out to join. She enjoyed the ramen at first, but started struggling halfway through. Gorilla Syndicate also struggled but refused to give up, rallying their team to keep going. The anchor announced that substitutions were allowed mid-round, so Gorilla Syndicate struck a dramatic pose and jumped back in. Then, just as quickly, an ambulance arrived. Gorilla Syndicate was eliminated, dramatically thanking everyone as they were wheeled out. It was hilarious, and probably not the best way to leave the competition. Now it was down to the solo player and the Rentaro family. That's when the big twist dropped. The solo player wasn't even eating. He was controlling a robot that was storing food in a hidden compartment. Yep, cheating. The guy declared he'd win no matter what and take the prize home. Both teams hit 25 bowls of ramen, but Kurumi started slowing down. The robot mocked her, saying she shouldn't have competed in every round. Feeling guilty for not meeting Rentaru's expectations, Kurumi began crying. The team quickly rallied around her, assuring her she wasn't alone. Kurumi insisted they shouldn't hurt themselves for her, but Hahari firmly told her, "You're our friend. We won't let you do this alone." The team dove back into the ramen. Meanwhile, the robot's storage bucket maxed out, forcing the guy inside to actually eat. As both teams raced to the finish, Rentaro whispered something to Kurumi with 5 seconds left, making her nervous. At the last second, Kurumi fed Rentaro the final bite of ramen. The robot operator couldn't handle it anymore and spat out his food. The Rentaro family won. The team celebrated with a trophy and ice cream. Kurumi apologized for being rude earlier, and the girls fed her ice cream as they all bonded even more. Later, Kurumi pulled Rentaro aside to thank him for helping her connect with everyone. She reminded him of his promise to let her taste something if they won. Rentaro assumed she wanted more food, but was caught off guard when Kurumi suddenly kissed him. Turns out, that was what she wanted to taste all along. The next day, Hikari opened up about her childhood. She explained how her mom, Harari, had always been classy and kind, raising her with care and earning her respect. But recently, her mom had been acting strangely. Hikari, who made children's clothes for everyone, had started insisting that Hikari and the others wear them. Rentaro, trying to be polite, said he'd wear them if Hikari made some for him. Hikari just smiled and told him not to force himself. Meanwhile, Kusari proudly showed off a new medicine she had made. She claimed it could turn people into kids and insisted it was completely safe. Kurumi and Karane immediately shot her down, refusing to even consider it. Out of nowhere, Hikari started acting like a child. She cried, saying she wanted to play mommy mommy. Hikari was mortified. She scolded her mom, asking how she could act like that in front of everyone. "Don't you think about how I feel," Hikari snapped. Hikari froze, realizing she'd gone too far. She apologized and admitted she'd forgotten that Hikari was her daughter, before anything else. The mood was awkward, but then a cat showed up, and everything went downhill. Kuzuri, in her usual chaotic way, tried throwing her reverse medicine at the cat. The cat dodged, and the medicine exploded. Rentaro shielded Hikari just in time, but when the smoke cleared, they realized the medicine had turned everyone else into little kids. Rentaro panicked, insisting they get clothes on the kids immediately. He couldn't handle seeing them like that. Hikari blushed, thinking about how much of a gentleman he was. Rentaro and Hikari started putting diapers on the kids. As they worked, Hikari couldn't help but feel like they were a married couple, taking care of their own children. Rentaro stood nearby, watching the kids. They look like little angels, he thought. But it didn't take long for the chaos to start. Shizuka burst into tears, and Rentaro had to calm her down. Kurumi got hungry and started chewing on Hikari's milker. Nanao tried sneaking outside, but Rentaro caught her just in time. She poked him in the eye in retaliation, leaving him stunned. Kusuri nearly drank her reverse medicine, but Rentaro stopped her, scooping her up before she could cause more trouble. Meanwhile, Karain and Kurumi got into a full-blown argument over who could chew on Hikari's milker. Hikari tried to scold them. Hikari didn't know how to handle the situation. Suddenly, Hikari climbed on top of her from behind. Hikari tried to stop her, but Hikari kept climbing and tugging at her hair. Hikari was scared but couldn't do anything. Then, Hikari patted Hikari on the back, making her feel better. Just then, Kurumi and Karane almost fell, but Rentaro quickly lifted them both, saving them. When Rentaro fell himself, everyone started laughing, and Rentaro understood. "Now I get it." In the next scene, Rentaro repeatedly fell, trying to make the kids laugh and sit still. Rentaro was seriously injured from all the falling, but the kids laughed so hard that they eventually fell asleep. Later, Hikari bandaged Rentaro and said, "Now I understand. Being a parent is hard." Rentaro replied, "Hahari once told me." Hikari asked, "What? That when she was little, she had trouble raising me?" He answered, "No. She said you are her reason to live, her bright light." Hikari felt a warm feeling at that. The next scene showed the medicine's effect wearing off, and everyone returned to normal. But Hahari was still crying, saying, "I wanted all of you to stay babies, not grow up." Hahari approached and said, "Mom, I'm sorry for how I acted." Hahari replied, "Hikari, you don't need to apologize." Hikari said, "I should. You were feeling distant, but I love and respect you. You've become safer since meeting Rentaro and are enjoying life now. I want you to keep enjoying it because you couldn't while you were raising me. So don't hold back. Live fully." Hahari was touched and thanked Hikari. The next day, everyone was on the rooftop eating together. Kurumi was happily eating, and Hikari remarked, "When you eat, your eyes shine like emeralds." Kurumi replied, "No, Suzuka and Nanao have better eyes." Suzuka disagreed. "No, Hikari-san and Hihari-san have the best eyes." Nanao said, "No, Kuzuka-san's eyes are better." Hahari joined in, saying, "My maid has the most beautiful eyes." Hahari said, "But I've never seen my maid's eyes." Suzuka asked Hahari, "What color are they?" Hahari replied, "They're like the colors of the rainbow." Excited, Kasuri went to the maid and said, "Please show me your eyes." The maid answered, "I serve Hahari-san, so I can't." Hahari said, "It's okay, you can show your eyes." The maid tried to open her eyes but couldn't move the muscles. She said, "I haven't opened them in so long, they're stiff." She ran off, saying, "I'll cut my eyes open if I have to." Hahari reassured her, "You don't need to do that." Then she said, "Maids are so loyal, it's kind of scary sometimes." Kurumi asked, "How do you do everything if you can't even open your eyes? How do you sense things?" The maid replied, "I listen carefully and work from what I sense." Just then, a flower's fragrance fell from the sky and the maid caught it. Karain, confused, asked, "How did this flower fall from the sky?" Meanwhile, Suzuka quietly did something that no one noticed, and she became nervous. Rentaro realized what she was doing and pretended to be scared. It became clear that Suzuka wanted the maid's eyes to open, but nothing worked. Kuzuri then took out a medicine, saying, "This will make her skin melt." Rentaro quickly warned, "I told you not to use that." Suddenly, Nanao pulled out a knife and said, "Now, I'll take care of it." She went to the maid and pretended to stab her in the stomach. But before dying, the maid thanked Hikari, saying, "I want to express my gratitude in my last breath." Nanao said, "I didn't actually stab you, it was just an act." Everyone sighed in relief. Kurumi then handed the maid a sweet bun, saying, "Eat this." The maid replied, "I can't eat this," but Hahari nodded and allowed her. As the maid started eating, Kurumi, shocked, said, "I thought when someone eats something tasty, their eyes get bigger." Karain replied, "No, it only happens to you." Rantaro then says, "I heard that when someone is happy, their eyes open." Hikari, curious, asks, "Maid, how do you get happy?" The maid replies, "When Hikari is happy, her happiness becomes my happiness." Hikari asks, "And you, Mom, how do you get happy?" Hikari says, "After being looked for by everyone, I feel happy." Hearing this, Hikari insists that her mom get cozy with Karane. The Karane refuses, but Hikari keeps pushing. After a while, Karain starts to warm up to Hikari's mom, but then Hikari pushes her away, saying, "I was just kidding. You were really getting cozy with my mom." Thought says, "She didn't open her eyes, even after scaring her, making her happy, feeding her, and even after experiencing sadness. I need to do something so she can see her eyes." He gets an idea and says, "I heard that if someone laughs, their eyes open." Karain responds, "But she's already laughing." Rintaro explains, "I mean, loud laughter." Karane asks, "How will you do that?" Rentaro says, "I'll tell her a funny joke." He tells her a joke, and the maid laughs lightly. Then Rentaro says, "This joke was told to me by Hahare-san," and that's when the maid opens her eyes. As their eyes meet, both of their bodies tremble. Rentaro realizes that this maid is also his soulmate. The other girls are shocked when they see her eyes and ask, "How did she open her eyes?" Rentaro answers, "You've seen how loyal this maid is to Hari-san. If Hari-san tells a joke, she'll laugh." Everyone starts praising Rentaro, saying, "You're so clever." Meanwhile, the maid blushes deeply. Seeing this, Hahari teases, "Maid, are you in love with Rentaro now that you've seen his face?" The other girls are shocked and think, "I can totally understand that." One by one, everyone agrees the maid can stay because she's really nice, but the maid insists, "I can't. Rentaro-sama is my mistress's boyfriend." "Well, I can't have any romantic relationship with him even if someone kills me." Hahari then says, "Maid, you shouldn't hold back. You should express your feelings." The maid finally says, "Rentaro-sama, I want to be in a relationship with you." Rentaro is shocked, not knowing there was another girlfriend, and becomes nervous. The next day, Mito arrives to pick up Rentaro. Inside the car, Rentaro feels extremely shy. A flashback scene appears where Mito asks Rentaro if he would like to go out with her the next day. At that moment, Hahari suggests an idea. Mito should act as Rentaro's personal maid for a day. Rentaro thinks to himself that Hahari has given him an amazing opportunity to get closer to Mito. Back in the present, Mito asks Rentaro where he would like to go. Rentaro tells her to take him wherever she wants to go. Mito decides to take him to her lady's favorite place. She drives extremely fast, scaring Rentaro. Rentaro asks about Mito's favorite food and place. Mito responds that she doesn't really have a favorite place. They arrive at a beautiful location filled with cherry blossom trees. The view is breathtaking. Rentaro suggests having lunch and offers to buy something. He asks Mito what she would like to eat. Mito tells him not to worry about her and to buy whatever he likes. Rentaro thinks for a moment and then asks her to make something for him with her own hands. He assumes Mito won't be able to cook on the spot, but to his surprise, Mito quickly hands him a homemade lunch within a minute. It turns out she had prepared it in advance and brought it from home. Blushing, she admits that she was really excited while making it and hopes he likes it. When Rentaro takes a bite, he finds it absolutely delicious and thanks Mito. Overjoyed, Mito expresses her happiness that he liked it. Rentaro thinks to himself that she is really adorable. Rentaro notices Mito acting a bit strangely. He asks her about it and orders her to tell him what's wrong. Mito hesitates, but finally requests that he give her an order so she can fulfill his wish. Rentaro is shocked and wonders what kind of order he should give. To test her, he asks her to bring him a broken tree branch from nearby. Mito immediately fetches it. Rentaro realizes he is treating her like a pet and feels guilty, thinking that men who treat women this way meet a terrible fate. To stop himself from ordering her around, he tells her that from now on, he orders her to do nothing for him. Mito is shocked and asks if he is serious. Rentaro reassures her and softly tells her that she is really cute and that just sitting with her makes his soul feel at peace. Flustered, Mito stands up nervously. Rentaro smiles and comments that she looks adorable even when standing. Embarrassed, Mito hides behind a tree, making Rentaro chuckle, saying she looks even cuter now. Later, they return home to Hahari. Seeing Mito back so soon, Hahari asks why she is there, as she was supposed to be Rentaro's maid for the day. Mito responds that she is just following Rentaro's order. Suddenly, Rentaro calls Hahari's phone. When Mito answers, he tells her that whenever he talks to her, his heartbeat gets faster. Hearing this, Mito is completely stunned and confused. She mutters that she doesn't know how to fulfill Rentaro Sigma's order. Harry smirks and tells her to stop overthinking and just go spend time with Rentaro. Since Mito can never refuse Hari's orders, she has no choice but to listen. Mito replies that she can't stop following his orders unless she completely destroys herself. Rentaro then agrees with Mito's idea, but in a way that surprises her. He says that as long as she's with him, that's all he wants. She doesn't need to follow his orders at all. He just wants her to stay the way she is. Mito blushes deeply at this. The scene shifts to the past, where Mito was in a terrible state. Hahari, amidst heavy snowfall, finds her and asks, "Are you okay?" Mito responds, "My life is completely worthless. There is no purpose left in it." Hahari reassures her, "Don't worry, you will find a purpose to live. Your life will have meaning." Hahari saves Mito, who begins to cry. Back in the present, Rentaro expresses, "When you love someone and they are with you, that alone is enough. You being with me is more than enough." Mito becomes flustered and Rentaro adds, "I love you and I want you to always stay with me." Mito agrees, "Alright, I'll fulfill your wish." Rentaro then shares this with everyone and the girlfriends warmly accept Mito. Hahari announces, "From today onwards, Mito is going to be our maid girlfriend." The girls, excited, all put on maid outfits, though Karain refuses. Since Rentaro wants everyone to wear them, Karain reluctantly agrees. The girls, now dressed in maid outfits, look stunning, even impressing Rentaro. Next, Hahari proposes a water gun battle. The rules are simple. Eliminate the other contestants, and the last dry contestant standing will receive a kiss from Rentaro. The mention of the kiss excites the girls. But Rentaro, blushing, says, "I'm not going to kiss everyone." Karain jokes, "Of course, you're only supposed to kiss the winner, not the losers." The game begins, and Karain tries to eliminate Mito, but Mito easily dodges. Mito attempts to eliminate Karain, but Karain escapes due to her hair. It's an exciting exchange, with Hahari praising Karain's skill. Then, Kusuri enters, soaking Karain and eliminating her. Kusuri celebrates her success, only for Nano to eliminate her next. Hahari, amused, takes a picture of the drenched Kusuri and Karain. Suddenly, Kurumi tries to attack Hahari, but Hahari dodges and soaks her, eliminating her. Nano then tries to eliminate Hahari, but Mito jumps in to protect her. This leads to a heated showdown between Nano and Mito, which is interrupted when Nano gets distracted by Suzuka. Suzuka, nervous, fires shots randomly, missing Nano completely. However, when Nano walks under some stray water droplets from Suzuka's random shots, she gets drenched, eliminating her. The same droplets fall on Suzuka, eliminating her as well. Now, only 3 remain: Mito, Hahari, and one other. Mito and Hahari point their water guns at each other. Hahari says, "Mother, step aside so I can take my shot. I've been waiting silently this whole time to see my enemies get eliminated." Hahari plans to force Mito to surrender by holding her at gunpoint. Mito is about to shoot herself, but Hahari stops her, saying, "A mistress who troubles her maid is no mistress at all." Then, Hahari shoots herself, shocking Mito. A gunshot rings out, and the others are left in suspense. Mito stands victorious, holding the gun while Hahari is drenched. Mito, emotional, asks, "Ma'am, why did you sacrifice yourself for me?" They get close, surprising everyone. The others are left confused, wondering what's happening between them. Rentaro then declares, "To be honest, you are all winners. You all played an amazing game." The girls are impressed, but it's clear Mito is technically the winner. In the end, Rentaro and Mito share a kiss. Rentaro, however, gets drenched himself, causing Hahari and Hahari to scream. The love god, clearly annoyed, yells, "Are you guys crazy? Who screams this loud?" And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.